We're ready.
Okay, we will open this meeting of Thursday, September 16th, 2013, the time being 2:10 p.m. We just start earlier and earlier and earlier. The purpose of starting earlier is the budget. First on the budget would be town clerk, tax collector, and Tim, you wanted to say a few words on wages?
Yeah,
Tim's representing me?
no, not at all.
Wow. You get an attorney's fee?
No, I just wanted to make note that of all the information that you're going to see this afternoon from town clerk, tax collector, administration, and the police department, the wages are calculated off of a separate wage sheet, as well as all the benefits, taxes, retirement, all that sort of thing. The health expense is as yet unknown. You know, that will be coming probably next month, or Joyce could probably give you an update as to when she thinks we'll have something in place for that, but that usually comes later. But everything else is calculated, and and that has the current retirement figures, that sort of thing in there. So I just want to make note of that, so it might help you.
This is the current, okay.
Yeah, the only one that's not calculated is highlighted, and the town clerk tax collector will speak to that. Okay? Thank you.
Great, all right. Oh yeah, take more and more.
I don't think you
Rah, 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 you're up.
I'm up.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. The salary line on mine, since we had that confusion this year, as the merit pool had listed my monies in there also. And so that because the Board of Selectmen couldn't move that money from the merit pool to my salary, and the people had voted on it at town meeting, we put it in as giving me the 2%, 2.5%, and then for next year, budgeting it out to the 2.5%. This way the townspeople can then vote on it again.
For the following year.
For the following year, yep. I'm pretty good on the budget. I took a lot of money out of places where I didn't really need it. A lot of my expenses or monies taken in gets paid by the government. I reimburse the government. So really, the only thing that I spend is salaries and office supplies.
What about your conferences now?
The conferences, what about them? What's your question?
Are you still going to, not conferences, the school?
Training
The training.
Yeah, that's a 4-year. Yeah, so Kim's got 2 more years on that, and that's built into this budget.
That was my question.
Yeah.
So that's why it's the 2,000? Mm-hmm. Is there anything else in that 2,000?
Well, that's the training for workshops and,
Okay.
Okay.
I ask you this every year. Which two are required by law?
The conferences. Conference.
Now, is the deputy required to go as well?
No.
Okay.
No. And, I'm going to look to see what the agenda is next year, because I don't think it warranted spending the money. I mean, Kim, of course, got something out of it, but I think previous years, they had a more meatier conference where it would be hard to disseminate to her or any deputy. But I'm going to take a good look at the agenda next year before I make that decision for next year, whether or not to close the office.
Yeah, because that's a big deal. You close
It's
the office.
a very big deal.
The money spent on
Yeah.
getting her up there.
Yeah,
Travel.
and advertising, and, yes. Yeah. So I'm going to look at that when it comes up. That's about all I spend.
So your budget's went up a little bit?
That looks like it's the increase in the,
3780.
right.
Oh, salary.
What was the total percentage it went up? Do we know?
No, I have no idea.
Probably the 5%.
Yeah,
I have a question.
sure.
If, well, this is just a general question. If the salary line here, you're up for reelection, is that correct?
Yes.
Now, if the salary line here is 52,024, does that mean the new town tax collector would come in at 52,24?
No, we'd have to
No.
do something similar that we did before, because...
I wasn't
you know,
here for that. How did that work?
We had a separate warrant article, the warrant article identified that, and we'll have to,
remember
it's
when they
quite in
combined it.
depth. We're going to have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
Because you could have somebody that has absolutely no experience.
Yeah, most
And you
likely
wouldn't want
that's
them
what it would
coming
be.
in at the experience level of...
Yeah,
what,
14 years.
I was going to say 15, yeah.
Yeah, I came in 99.
Because it's going to cost you a lot of money to train somebody.
Yeah. So, yeah,
A lot of
I put-
mistakes.
I put 14 years into this town. So,
Well, total budget is going up 3,780.
Correct.
Based on 109,000, that's probably, what, 2%?
2.5, I believe.
Right?
Are we taking in more or less money in the office down there?
tax collecting, we are, I think the uncollected taxes from 2011 to date is like 580,000, which is very good, very good. Motor vehicle, people are buying cars left and right.
I just bought one this morning. I know what you're saying.
I mean, it's incredible how many people are buying cars. Yeah, so, you know, the revenue's just coming in, coming up, going in.
Good. Well,
Well, it's pretty cut and dry.
looks like a good budget. I support what you've done with the wage adjustment here. They did vote for it. We were unable to give it to you because of the legalities. And I wholeheartedly support that part.
Thank you.
Whether or not the people do is one thing, but
My people are very good,
hopefully they will.
yes. So, yeah, so the next step would be the budget meeting.
Right.
Good,
Yep.
thank you.
We'll be there to support it. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bob?
Here comes a budget for you. This ought to knock you over.
Gotta have another piece of chocolate on this one.
Oh, two.
How do I get stuck with the big budget?
Because you get
Chief,
the
do you
big,
have copies of your budget for myself and Catherine?
Absolutely do.
after us.
I'll pay you for them.
$30.
$30.80.
86.
Be exact now.
Every time I bring stuff
Come
up
on,
here.
that figure.
That won't even be a crawler at Dunkin' Donuts, buddy.
That's better than yesterday. I got a check in the mail for 5 cents.
I got one I kept for 3 cents from AT&T.
It costs them more to send it.
Yes, it did, considerably.
For 5 cents. And you know what? I went right to the bank with it, too.
Oh, no, I kept mine, just to show the stupidity.
Waste the paper.
They're hoping you would keep it.
I know they were.
We passed down.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Really? Let's see.
So I've been meeting with Tim just to kind of go down the lines operationally, to see if there was anything that we needed to adjust up or down a little bit. And for the most part, all the operational lines, which is everything below salary, wages, and benefits, stayed the same. We moved a couple of lines up and down, but it doesn't change the bottom number, so let me see where I want to start. Starting around office supplies, we kind of take a 3-year average when we come up with the figures for each line, and so we're kind of right on track this year as far as office line goes. Dues, postage, printing, police liability. Tim left the line there, but that was one of the lines moved. Equipment, maintenance and repair is down, but some of that money got shifted to IT. Advertising, we're about where we should be. Telephone was also moved, but Tim kept a line there. Miscellaneous expenses, we might be a little bit down this year, but for right now, we kept 15 there. Electricity.
What is included in that line, Chief?
It could be travel expenses. Really just about anything that doesn't have a line goes in there. Sometimes, it could be anything.
So it's the police department's slush fund? It's not much slush, no.
Not much slush,
Not
yeah.
much slush in that line.
Well, I mean, if something happens in the PD where we have to, get some flowers or something like that, we take that out of that line. If all of a sudden we had an emergency call and I had to feed everyone because they're going to be out there for 3 days.
People are going hungry.
Yeah,
You know,
that's the line I would grab the food.
hungry
from.
people with guns make me nervous.
Or,
So feed them.
If I had to come up with some expense during an emergency, I could pull it out of there. Heat, we're doing good, so we were able to drop that down a little bit. Sewer and water, we kept the same. Building maintenance, we left 2,000 in there. Just to cover, work on the central AC system or the heating system. If we have to make any annual repairs, change the filters for the air handlers.
Have you done anything to improve the air in was it the dispatch? Wasn't that the last
did.
area that, because when was I in there last? It was in the summer.
It should have been ductwork.
It was
that-
like the air wasn't moving.
It wasn't
It was stifling. When did you do the work?
last year. I think we did it.
Oh, this was this year. I was in there and I thought, wow,
I know we did it. We did a return duct in there.
Yeah,
maybe it didn't work.
they put a return duct, we added monies to the, but there should be a fan, maybe the intake wasn't working going in, because there should be one coming in, one going out, because that's when Bob Huey was out there.
Right.
I just knew when I left, I thought, boy, I couldn't work in there.
Was it recently?
Yeah, and she said...
Sometime over the summer.
Summer.
Because you put that in
Trying to
last year.
think of why I was there to help me remember when, but it was over the summer. I can't tell you if it was a particularly hot day, I just know it was over the summer.
I'll check with Terry on it,
Why was I in there?
because we did add a return system.
Did we have a meeting in there? I don't know, doesn't matter. Just sometime over the summer, I thought, there's no way you'd make me work in here. So I thought it was still unresolved.
Yeah, I know some days it gets cold in there, it gets cold in the building, and,
Cold I could deal with,
yeah,
stagnant air,
I'll double check with her on it.
especially in a closed room.
Sewer.
Sewer, water, we kept the same janitorial service. Tim wasn't sure if that was gonna go up or down, so he kind of went with where if we kept the same company, where the number would be for next year. Building improvements, we left 2,000 in there.
Do we have anything planned for building improvements this year?
The next couple things are, each year I'm updating some of the lighting, making it better over the workstations.
Yeah.
And there's some carpet that has to be replaced. That was identified when LGC came there, so Probably next year, I'm going to try and get some of the old carpet out of there and put some BCT in. But I try to tackle one project per year. And, 2,000 would probably cover anything like that. New uniforms, we put at 9,000. That's the line that we also replace vests from, but we get half reimbursed on the vest, so, if we spend 9,000, you may see 3,000 back in grant reimbursements for bulletproof vests.
How do we stand with our vests? Does everybody have an updated vest?
Yeah, we have a good system right now. Each year, the lieutenants review who needs a vest, we get them. It ends up being about 3 vests a year, roughly. The vests range between $850 and $1,000, depending on the size.
And everybody's up to date.
Yep, up to date.
Including administration, everybody?
Everyone, yeah. So we've been pretty good at that. So that will use up all of my 9,000, with vests and uniforms.
We don't require the ladies to wear a vest, do we? Inside that building?
No.
Should we?
Theoretically, they should be safe inside the building.
Well, yeah, theoretically, but things happen. That's typically,
That's when you get caught.
I want to say, I'll tell you later.
I mean, there's no standards that office staff inside the
No,
building
I'm
have
just
them, but certainly if they wanted one, we would.
Right. I'm not saying the ass right there, but I want to know personally myself.
Right.
Is the glass front of that area where you walk in bullet resistant?
It is, yeah.
We'll talk offline.
Yep. So, new uniforms, we left at 9. Uniform maintenance, 2,900, that's, dry cleaning and repairs of the uniforms. And we stay pretty consistent from year to year there. Training materials is also training tuition and costs associated with training. We usually spend somewhere between $2,500 and $3,000. Tuition ranges between $550 and $650, depending on the class, if it's a specialized class.
Do you do any more of those true life scenarios that you were doing up at the Tilton School? In the gym or in the hockey rink inside?
We didn't this year, no, because
Didn't.
you have to get on a list for those, and LGC will do you like 2 years in a row, then they go and do other agencies and work their way around back to you again. So we'll probably be coming up next year to get some more of that. I'd like to...
That was incredible.
It's great training. I'd like to eventually start to get some simulation guns in so that we can do them ourselves. They're not cheap, though. They actually cost the same as a... Yeah, I just recently priced them, so it's kind of something you have to do piecemeal. But I'm watching for grants to see if I can get them through there. Gas diesel, we're doing okay. The 6 cylinders are definitely helping
Seems like they're helping a lot.
a lot. So we're able to bring down gas a little bit each year.
Nice.
Even though the price of gas went up by 20 cents, 30 cents a gallon.
Yeah, so I mean, as we bring more 6s in the fleet, you'll be able to see that
Well, you
number.
spent $30,656, what, last year? And you're at $18,636, so that's incredible.
Yeah, we're doing good. I think,
Wonder if we could get them to do S10s at the town garage instead of dump trucks.
Instead of what?
Dennis is
trucks.
listening?
Instead of dump trucks.
A nice 4-cylinder?
Yeah. Get one of those little, push-button dump bodies on it.
so if we do a new car next year, that'll be 3, frontline cars will all be 6 cylinders. So that'll be great.
Save some
Save some money, absolutely.
All right.
So coming down gas vehicle maintenance, we're doing okay compared to years past. That used to be a really high number, where my goal is to try and stay under 10. So we put 11 there. I feel comfortable that with the way we're taking care of the fleet, Arthur's doing a great job down there. Yeah, the types of cars we're using now, I think we're able to get gas down and also get vehicle maintenance down, so I left that at 11. Radio comms, that covers the repeater up on Belknap Mountain, the electricity, all of that, the maintenance of it, and that should be in...
Does that new piece of equipment that they're getting, the $297,000 grant that they got for the microwave digital, is that going to affect our communications as well?
At night it will.
Okay,
Oh, greatly, yeah.
wonderful.
So they'll basically be kind of getting to the point we are during the day.
Yeah.
We have a great system during the day, we can talk from anywhere. They'll be that way at night, so they're putting new repeaters up there.
That photo supply line,
Yeah,
you use zero?
yeah, believe it or not, it's for, now, it used to be for film, but those days are over. So now it's like SD cards and batteries for the digital cameras, or, stuff like that, so.
Digital cameras cost more than $100, so if you need
Oh,
it.
yeah, no, just for the SD cards.
Uh,
That sort of thing, or if they had to have anything processed. Occasionally, we get a bill from the state lab to process something. Intoximeter, that's been the same for years. That's just about what it takes us to get through the year, to have the breathalyzer recalibrated and certified.
So you haven't done it this year, I take it?
Yeah, some of that stuff comes in right at the end of the year. Weapons expense, we updated our rifles last year, so I think we're going to actually be below that number. We put in 3,000, but
How are your handguns?
they're doing good. I think probably one more year, it'll probably be 15, we'll start to maybe replace some of the older ones.
I was going to say, it seems to me the last time we replaced handguns was,
05, 06?
oh yeah, it was a while ago.
06,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
so
flintlocks back then, weren't they? Blunderbuss? Ones with the big holes on the
We
end, right?
expect to replace them in
15. Yeah.
2015. Do you
And-
replace them all at once, or can we get a grant?
It depends, well, I don't know what they'll be for grants then, but they do have a trade-in. So if we were to trade the ones we have next year, they would give us about $200 on a new one per gun.
Per gun?
So what
What do they usually cost?
That's crazy, you can't buy those guns anywhere for $200.
Well, that would be, the trade-in value would be 200.
Can't you say, that's bogus, though, those guns are going for $400 or $500.
That's how much a regular gun would
But then
cost?
they, on the other end, though,
Even private sales.
they give us a price that it's 500 for a new one, you would never find one for 500. So they give us an LE price,
655,
so,
650.
I see.
so basically, I'd be looking at.
It's a wash.
Yeah, it's about a wash. About $250 to $300 an officer to get them into a new one.
To new one?
Yeah, so I was gonna do that in 15.
In 2015.
So how many guns?
So you're looking at 17,
Yeah, 18.
18?
Why do those
Do you
things
buy an
wear
extra?
out?
That would come with 2 mags. It would, 3 mags, so.
They don't wear out. Why would, is this like
Actually, the
technology?
parts do wear out. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they have to put so many rounds, it's unlike a civilian version, they have to put so many rounds a year through them. So they're, you could basically rebuild them after 7 years, but it almost gets cheaper at our price to buy them a new one. So, if you bought one, it would never wear out. But if you have to put a couple thousand rounds a year through them for training, then eventually all the, the firing pin wears out, the springs wear out, that sort of stuff,
Usually we're
so,
looking at, what, 250 a gun?
250,
So we're looking at
300 a gun, right,
yeah.
$40.
So, I mean, it's something
right,
for 15.
for 2015, yeah, absolutely.
That's going to put them 9 years old?
About 8. Yeah.
We
Which
have,
is good. I mean, Luke's a Glock armor, I'm a Glock armor, we go through them. Once a year, we have to go through them, inspect them. Luke changes out any springs that he needs to change out, and
Can you get springs for them specific to that if they needed to be changed?
yeah,
So, not just cleaned and
right.
you can buy that.
But are they keeping up with the technology that you are opposing, Carrie?
Last time they bought them just at the right nick of time where they had made enough technology changes that they can accept a light system, that sort of thing. There's really no bells and whistles added to them that makes us want to jump out there. It's just replacing them when they've had enough years in service. So I actually just met with Glock a couple weeks ago. He came to my office and we talked about it. And he said, you have a good model there. He said, you probably get another year out of them. So they give some really good pricing. We get prices the public can't buy them for.
Right.
And then with the trade-in deal, it's not that bad, so, in 15...
You go directly to Glock to trade them in.
Yeah.
And so what about your other firearms, your rifles and things? What happens with, are they the latest technology?
They are. We just did those this year. That's why I was at 32. So next year I don't have to do rifles. That comes off my plate. So next year it'll just be if something breaks, or, God forbid, if there was a shooting and I had to go out and buy and replace one. Because when there's a shooting, the AG's office actually takes those weapons out of service. So if there was a shooting and 3 officers were involved in a shooting, those 3 come out.
And they never go back in service?
It used to be that way years ago. It's not that bad anymore,
They
but
come back in service or no?
eventually they won't give you a timeline. It can be a year to 2 years.
But you have to really have a backup. You can't, right.
Right, so if, if 3 of them, and even if only one shot, but 3 were in the room, they'll take all 3. And it could be up to a year, so there's some money there if I had to
Right.
replace them.
Yep.
Investigation expenses, we left that at 2,500. Drug expense at 1,000.
Excuse me.
Shouldn't it be more than 1,000?
Investigation expenses. 210, we spent $8,000. 211, we spent $8,000, and then whammo, it went down in 12. In 13, it went down even further. Crime is up. We're investigating more. How could the expense go down?
We bought some equipment, and it was some stuff that I'd have to talk to you about in non-public.
Okay, all right, good enough.
But it's stuff that we have now, and it's working okay. They were
Okay.
kind of like special meetings, special requests.
This is where we see our savings.
Okey dokey.
Hippity-happity.
The only thing I see different, that we need to change here is going to be eventually health insurance when we get that, and also legal on the line for contractual negotiations this year. And last year, the last negotiations was
We skipped a bunch of lines.
Yeah, I'm going to go back up there.
possibly, was $16,000 total, right? $16,000. So we have to plug in somewhere around that. If it were happening this year, it would be a different story, but it goes into next year.
Right.
Because it ends February.
Why is FICA down?
How unlikely is that?
And I'm looking at most everything else went up, well, except for the overtime and those, but associated with wages, why would FICA go down? If your salaries are all increasing, I
We've
mean...
still got 3 months.
You've gone down, is it because of the parking? You've cut the parking almost in half, or is in half?
Is in half,
Is
yeah.
that where it is?
Why
Yeah.
would you cut
That
the
it's-
parking in
Well,
half?
we
That was
brought
my
it down to
next
1
question.
employee.
Why would you,
Just, instead of having 2, we thought we'd go with 1.
1 10-hour week, 10 hours a week?
Yeah. And I don't know. if
But we got to have a backup this year. We have to have a backup. If one's sick, then we got to have somebody out there. We have to have a consistency in there. It worked fine with the 2 people that were out there. It was great. And people really,
Liked
we
it.
did a wonderful job.
No, except they didn't do all the parking lots.
They were getting there, though. Every time something new came up, they were told by an officer you got to include this, you got to include that. And they were increasing their area and increasing what they were looking for as well, because, there's little nooks and niches and
Right.
parking over there.
Yeah, but it's like Mechanic Street was completely,
I know Adam said anytime he came back from vacation, he would work. So he kept all his stuff.
No mechanics.
So I'll get him during the
Should've.
summer again next year.
I don't think so.
So that was the other thing too, is I didn't want to give up, if he's going to come back every vacation and give me next summer
I think you should have held the line on that one.
on parking.
On parking. Does anybody else? That's my feeling, I don't know about anybody else's, because we want to be consistent in what we're doing.
Okay.
And
I want to
we
know.
haven't been without one for 2 months, and it's been running amok. I got sworn at today with a guy on a bicycle saying, get the out of the way.
On the
lady,"
sidewalk.
On the sidewalk, and it's like, if there was a parking guy out there, he would have nabbed him in a minute. And I said, excuse me, there's no riding a bike on the sidewalk. He said, that's not my law.
Unless
It's like-
we're going to have our officers patrolling Main Street, which they really need to do. We need to have people at will. So if that means people just for parking and patrolling Main Street, because there was a skateboarder last night,
Same
if I
thing.
hadn't turned around just in time, he'd have been very unhappy.
I want to know the actual hours this person works patrolling the streets.
10 hours, you're talking,
Talking
what?
actual hours
4 hours?
on the street.
Right.
Not
I would
in
go-
the police department, what he does on the street.
I would overlap the 10 hours with 2 people and do the 10 hours like we had talked about, like we had hired to begin with.
Right.
But we said 24, didn't we? The hours to begin with? But make it 10 hours, 10 hours.
10 and
then
10.
10 and 10, and overlap them so that when one's got the day off, the other one's on, and it's consistent Monday through Saturday.
And it did work.
It did work when they
Did
were
we
there.
create a job description for that?
We did.
We did, yeah.
And did it include patrolling the streets and
Yes.
sidewalk infractions and
Yep,
whatnot?
all of that, yeah.
The issue was that the officers really didn't teach or train, because they didn't know themselves, when they first came on, they didn't know Mechanic Street was a municipal parking area,
Right.
some of them. Or they didn't know that the area on Tryon Lane was part of, one side was the church, one side was us. They didn't, those kind of little quirky things they didn't know until it took some time getting to know the area, and then they knew they were right on top of things. No problems whatsoever, and people just, wow, this is really working nice.
Unfortunately, though, it doesn't take people long to realize when it's not working, because all of a sudden cars were,
Everywhere.
Oh, everybody's there now, everybody's there now.
it's like, wow, he didn't get a ticket yesterday. I didn't want to park out here.
Yeah, and then you start to get it back.
Right.
I just want to know the actual hours that they're out there on the beat, not in the office.
Gotcha.
So, yeah,
Before I make a decision.
to be what? What did you
Before I
say?
make a decision, I want to know how many hours they're actually out there.
They,
Going back to the top, because I wanted to get some of the operational stuff out of the way down the bottom.
Dragging this.
Tim and I did wages with Sonny coming back. He told me February, so once he comes back, he has about 30 days before I get him back. It's his military leave time that they give him. So we
You'll have him
we did our
3/4.
calculation by March. And hopefully, before town meeting, I'll get an update on that. Overtime, which includes court, emergencies, mandatory training, that sort of thing, we left at 35. And holiday, which covers, the officers work in the holidays, we calculated about where we think we're going to be next year, with a 2.5% raise if that goes in. And then merit raise pool would be anyone that is eligible and cashes out any time at the end of the year. Dispatcher wages, again, it's driven by the collective bargaining agreement. Part-time wages, we did
so
it.
that could change.
Yeah, that could change. Part-time wages, we did by 24 hours a month. And again, we covered parking. Grant expenses, 10,000. That covers all the click-it-or-ticket, DWI patrols, the checkpoints. And it also, would cover any of the additional distracted driving grants that Ryan gets during the year, so it used to be more, but we feel that that's probably about the most I can afford to do, is about 10,000. And we just recently finished it up. Matter of fact, it closed on the 15th, so we're done with the grant stuff for this year.
That seems...
It could be a combination.
And then
Didn't we
We
eliminate,
do have two.
Yes, we do.
didn't when it came budget time last year, we eliminated one of the grants because we were trying to toe the line on the budget?
well, we pared them all down, and so
And does this 10,000 indicate that you're paring it down?
it is. That's because with each year
I see.
there's raises, so I get less hours if they're making more money. Retirement, Medicare, FICA, all that goes up.
Can't fault it
So,
for that.
that 10,000 number actually gets smaller each year, but I think this is the stuff that keeps the roads safe. It's a reasonable amount of grant activity out there, but not too much. It gets us our 4 checkpoints this summer, it gets us, DWI enforcement, maybe once or twice a month during the summertime on Friday and Saturday nights. It gets us, when the patrol officers are chasing the radio, these officers are out there just looking for DWIs or traffic-related offenses. We started doing stuff with state police. It was kind of a statewide campaign against distracted driving, where they would put out units all over the state once a month to specifically look for distracted drivers and, the things that cause traffic accidents and fatalities. And so, additionally, that would cover any equipment. So if we bought a handheld radar or we bought an MDT for a car, we get half of that reimbursed by highway safety, so it would come out of that grant as well. And last year when we bought the MDTs, half of them were all paid for by highway safety, so it just gives me a place to take the money from. And
What about your vests? Is that under grant expense too?
we take those out of clothing, new uniform, and so, and then we, it shows on a revenue line that, we got half back, but we've only taken them out of the new uniform line.
Okay.
And,
I got a quick question on the dispatches.
yeah,
Years of service or years been doing it. How long has Terry been being a dispatcher for us, or not just for us, but years working as a dispatcher? How many years does she have?
I think about 12 now. I'd have to look it up. I have a resume at the
What
station.
about Lisa?
Lisa came in 2006, I believe.
That's the first time?
Terry came in with some experience, and also Terry,
I'm just trying to figure
Right.
out the years of experience versus the wages.
Terry has a lot more experience than,
She came in with a lot of experience.
Like 15 years of experience, I think.
Really?
Yeah,
yep.
Yeah, she came in with quite a bit.
15 years, I believe.
And there was we brought her in on a certain salary, and we were going to review that salary afterwards. We never reviewed it, or we reviewed it and said no. I don't remember exactly.
We should find out, because that seems, for the experience you just
Did Mark?
mentioned, that doesn't seem
She came
like
right from the
enough
job,
remuneration.
right from the job, and she had a number of years' experience.
Right.
Sitting in
was
that little
completely-
box all the time would drive me crazy.
The other position is not strictly dispatch, so you're not...
It's administration, right.
Right.
But the dispatch,
But they both do either or, right?
well, sometimes
Lisa does
Lisa
dispatch.
backs up once in a while, but it's it's
not her-
not her title dispatcher.
It's not her primary job.
And she shouldn't be on the dispatcher, though. Should she?
She's both.
Yeah, I think she, yeah.
She's actually under administrative,
Administration.
right?
She just covers when Terry goes to
Right,
lunch.
but she
or-
backs up dispatcher, and we put her in the dispatcher item.
So she
Do we
get
have
two
an
different pays?
administrative line?
She get 2 different pays?
No,
Then she shouldn't be in dispatcher.
she's primarily an administrator,
That's where she should be then.
and she backs up the dispatcher, but the
That's my
dispatcher,
personal feeling.
but the dispatcher has...
They don't even have an administrative line.
They don't, she's a
No.
secretary.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's why they put her in under dispatcher, because
Right.
contractually, they don't have an administrative line.
right.
But-
Yeah, the original line was clerk dispatcher.
Clerk dispatcher, right.
Yeah.
And
We have a union.
I'm just trying to figure out the numbers are not working.
the numbers don't work, and they never did work, and we remember, I remember I was brand new as a selectman when they came in. I think it was you that brought her in, your group that
Yep.
brought her in, right?
Yep.
Before me, and I remember that we were supposed to review, I don't know whether it was 6 months, a year, or whatever.
6 months.
Maybe we better find out, because,
She has 15 years of expertise, and
That doesn't
she's
include what
actually
she's done for
making,
us.
she's actually making a third or fourth year salary
Right.
She has over 20 years now.
of experience.
Yeah.
Do you want to set that up for like a separate date where I come in and we'll talk about just that?
You can get the information for
Yeah.
us. It has to be negotiated anyway, Bob.
Yeah.
Right now, it has to be a negotiation.
Drug investigation
in the
law.
contractual.
why would it be if we
It's
made
only
a mistake?
$1,000.
Yeah, I mean,
You went over, what, 1155? You were at 2485 the year before. Shouldn't that be around 2 grand?
If we made a mistake, this could be a way to fix it.
yeah, I mean, we try to pare it down. If I have forfeiture money, I can use it. If I don't, there was a couple of years we didn't have any.
And
So
if it's
I-
there, you got it. If you don't need it.
It's
you're not gonna use
unknown, right, it's unpredictable.
Right.
How is it that we managed to only spend $1,100 on drug investigation? I happen to know that there are drugs in this town.
Don't think that
And you
that's...
have the guys that have investigated, prosecuted, and successfully removed these people for $1,100?
No.
Now, that something tells me the money's coming from somewhere, but
Forfeiture money.
not that line.
I would think that that would be a non-public discussion.
Why?
Where the money comes from is
You think
is a
people don't know
public
there's drugs in
discussion.
town?
sometimes we're able to use forfeiture money. And sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. So
Why is that non-public?
if,
Where the money comes from? It isn't. It shouldn't. It can't be.
just the case.
People have a right to know. What they spend it on, maybe, is a non-public issue.
They do.
But not where I mean, people are
You're
paying for
absolutely
drug
right on that.
investigation.
Joe, you're absolutely right on that part. I just didn't want to get in further detail on the process.
Oh, no, I wasn't
because
asking that. No. I'm not asking that because I don't want to give the scumbags a heads up.
I just
No,
assume,
it's a good
I
question.
just assume rates are like 2 grand.
Okay.
That's my own personal opinion,
Yeah, I
because you
made
don't
a
know
note.
where the volume's gonna
I
be.
made a note on that. I
Because
will.
you don't, it's unpredictable and you don't know whether or not you have it or you don't.
Okay. And then the last line, and I think you mentioned it, Pat, was legal.
Legal,
And
We-
we were just talking about it. You can go ahead.
right, I put a phone call into the attorney to, we did receive a letter from him, but we had asked for an estimate. We just got this probably, an hour ago or so, and there's no estimate, but we went back on the last contract, and it was about $16,000. So we can get an estimate within the next week or so and plug that in.
Legal?
However, you really need to up that at least by 16, because it's not going to be,
Right.
it may be cheaper because we've already got it in place and it's already been tweaked, and it's just a matter of going through some basic negotiations,
Yeah, we have...
numbers,
I think we have
health
10
insurance, things like that, but language, and because he rewrote a lot of the language last year, and we did a lot of tweaking of that. But that's what we spent, was around 16,000, so you've got to put that in.
Right.
Otherwise, we're
Plus you
going to
have
be
to have some for-
caught short.
For labor issues like
Exactly.
grievances, that sort of
Mhm.
thing, so,
Right.
So why are we at zero?
no, not at zero,
No, you're at 10, right?
there's 10 in there for the beginning of the contract negotiations. You're saying maybe add 6 to that, and take it up to...
Yeah, because what Tim was thinking was that the contract negotiations was over before the end of the year was up, and it's not. It goes into February, because we have to be finished by February 1st, and then they take a vote. So it goes into next year. So we still have another month, and maybe 2 months of negotiations before, of legal, back and forth. It may not be as much, the bulk of it will be done before that, but it's still, there's still going to be some money spent.
She's underpaid.
Right. So if I put 6 in there,
I would say,
that'll give me 10 and 10.
Joyce, you think 6
And this is 2010.
would be enough?
To bring it up to 10?
16.
77.55.
Yeah, if you look at through this.
What is the average wage?
Or what she does, if you compare towns with our same, look at the cost for PD, compare with those the same PD, she's a couple bucks short.
Just from February
It's
to
more like 22.
So we should plan on 16, then plus whatever I need for...
And then, once we hear from him, we'll put in a different figure.
Okay.
We'll tweak it a little bit to get a firmer figure from him. I mean, it won't be precise, because it's always a guesstimate, but... So we're going to put this, where you have 4,000, we're going to put it 16.
Okay.
No,
Well, we haven't spent anything yet this year.
10, so plus 6.
What I just said, it was zero.
so it's going to be 10,
I was wrong.
and then
Plus-
10 the last year, so that would be 20.
20, and that should be
We can encumber those 10,000 this year, because we're using them
for
for
contract.
contract negotiations.
We haven't decided that.
Well, remember he said that we're not
We
going
will
to
be-
encumber anything?
No. Let me rephrase that. We will be using the funds because we will be using his services now until the end of 2014. So it's not, I used the word encumbered and I shouldn't have. So,
It's encumbering them.
no, we're actually spending it.
You're not going to spend all 10,000 this year. So that means
don't
you're
have
going
to-
you're going to encumber those monies, because we're going to enter into a contractual agreement with an attorney to represent us in those negotiations. Whatever is not spent this year will be encumbered to be spent next year.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got a message from him, and he said, rough estimate would be 5,000 to 6,000. I can get more solid number on Monday after checking time spent 3 years ago. I would think this round would be shorter. Of course, a lot depends on how reasonable the union is. So,
Okay.
That wasn't public information. That was attorney-client information.
We haven't spent any money in 2013,
Not yet.
Don't-
so we can...
such a wicked headache.
I'm sorry.
Right.
You gotta
Right,
keep
right.
me in
between
check
now and
tonight.
December 31st.
That's unusual.
The only thing I'd like to ask is, please give it really serious thought. Seems like the last 2 years after budget approval, we've come up with these humongous things that had to be taken care of that weren't in the budget.
Right.
So if you have any inkling that you're going to be required to get or will need something, please think about it before the budget gets approved.
Okay.
Right.
Do you remember how much you had planned for IT last year in the 2013 budget?
Yeah. It's here.
Well, it's not broken down. If I remember correctly, it was piggybacked with some other items that weren't IT.
Yes, you're
Several
right.
items that were brought
You're right.
into it.
I know
Because
that,
we had telephone and printers and things like that.
right, we never came up with, Tim and I were, before we created the new IT line
Right,
position,
before.
we were going to have a meeting to discuss what we
Right.
needed for 14. We never got there.
No, what you budgeted in the year 2012 for the year 2013, what did you plan for IT?
It was just software licenses. We didn't plan any major
How much?
replacements.
Dart?
It's in my equipment maintenance.
Do you want to get it to us later?
8339, equipment, maintenance, repair, and technical. That's the only line that I can see that.
Yeah, but that wasn't all IT.
No.
No.
That's, I
Yeah,
just,
but there's no other IT line.
If you can get
Why
us
don't
an
you-
idea of
yeah.
what that was,
I will.
broken down,
See where
because
we
there was
were.
other
Yeah.
equipment,
where we've come to and where we still have to go.
right.
Yeah, I
And
know.
then we
Isn't
also
that
want
going
an
to fall
answer.
under administration?
It will for this year.
Yes,
I mean, it'll
yeah.
be in the IT director's budget.
We also want to look at the, find an answer on the dispatcher and the history of that, please,
Yeah, I will.
before we start negotiations, because if it is, if it is a mistake, then we should be doing something. If it wasn't, we should be doing something in negotiations. You'll be up shortly in an hour and a half with
4:15, yeah.
the other ones are coming in.
They are,
And you're
yeah.
going to talk about the liability with when you were talking about the...
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Thank you, chief.
Are we moving?
Moving right
Or are
along.
they presenting to us, or, I guess we don't have a public. Doesn't look like.
How you doing? Who's presenting? Yep. So do you want us to move and you present, or how do you want to do that?
Okay, can I set up the plans right here?
Absolutely. Yep, we can get the camera to focus on the plans.
As soon as I set up, we'll move it. I got a problem. Look at this. Do I look like I get? Oh, that's right. Maybe the cable people. Not. I did my job there, get the people.
I used to have a job just like that.
You know, I get. Because they're getting mad. I'm wrong, so,
Yeah, that's why they're mad.
yeah. That's why that's mine.
$123,000.
Yeah, I figured that, yeah. Right, 123,333.
That's the one.
Yep. So... That's something to discuss too.
We're pushing $2 million a year.
But then again, you're pushing a ton more crime.
60% of that money is paid by the businesses. Of course, they generate 60% of the activity, so, but even so, I mean, we're still talking about a lot of money.
If crime goes down,
That's what I think.
and
I
it's-
feel secure in my home. I'm not, I have no problem with the police department. The money is a lot of money for a town of 3,600 people.
it's not just 3,600.
I know, I understand this, but I talk to residents, and the residents say, we've got 3,600 people, and we've got that. Do we really need as huge a police department? Now, I can justify the police department that we have.
Most expensive
But it is a
per
lot of money.
capita, most expensive police department per capita in the state.
But pound
No
for
one in the state has more.
pound for pound, we may well have the best police department in the state. Oh, no, tell me one that's better.
I don't know the others.
Well, there you go. I say we may well. I don't know any other either.
I mean,
But you're right, per capita, we definitely have the biggest police force in the state.
most expensive, not the biggest, but most
Well,
expensive.
the most
It is
expensive.
Actually, per capita, it is the biggest. There is no other community with 3,600 people that has the size police department we have.
We have a very unique situation here,
Exactly.
very unique.
So I don't...
I've never compared it as far as the tax
I
base
believe we
goes.
have to take care of ourselves.
Right, exactly. So,
The alternative is, in my opinion, anarchy.
so, I mean,
Meth labs, crack dealers.
that's what was offered.
I don't want to be responsible for
She
that.
wanted to agree.
Article 10 of the New Hampshire State Constitution,
She never did.
the right to revolution.
But she never filed a formal grievance.
So I'm not looking to suppress anybody's right to revolt.
Address that in the negotiation.
Only their right to have a meth lab next to my
She
house.
should be telling
Correct.
Not you.
Of course, we don't spend much on drug investigations. I can't wait till we're non-public, because I want to know why.
That's probably her making.
It's a very easy answer.
I know we spend more than $1,000.
Would she, at the time she was employed, originally she was talking about part-time.
This is today's.
She had already determined.
Right.
Are you ready?
2, 3, 4, 6 of these. Bulk of it. This would have been in, and
You're
then so
talking
far
like we don't
this
worry
year,
about it. I didn't hear you.
just $175, which is out of our league.
Okay.
I'm thinking you might want to.
This was the audit letter that you looked at.
I don't think it pulls out far enough, though.
I think the way.
Try it, yeah.
You can't,
The one
Yeah.
that's standing there.
if it's an accounts payable, whatever work was so we can pay that part of the year. But anything invoiced in January
Yeah, they just take it where they want.
is 2014.
Right.
I know, addressing this huge crowd. I'm Michelle Marshall. I work for NHDOT. I'm the highway safety engineer. I'm going to present the overall process, and then John Butler is also from the DOT, will present the concepts. And I'm not familiar with the microphone, so if I'm too far away, because I have a quiet voice in this big room, please tell me to step forward. I gave you two handouts. One has a little bit of a description of the road safety audit for Tilton, and the other one is the flow chart. I'm going to start with the flow chart so you can understand where we are in the process. The town of Tilton has already submitted the road safety audit, and we did have the road safety audit in December of 2012. A draft report for the road safety audit was published, I guess, to everybody involved in January of 2013. And the final report for the road safety audit was distributed through email in July of this year. We actually came here in the same room and had a meeting with Councilor Burton, and it was an evening meeting, and that, again, was in July. So the flow chart pulls us down. I presented this project to our front office at the DOT in August, on the 26th. So that puts us down in the green area on the flow chart. And so now we're here presenting in front of you to get your input and opinions on where we should be going with the project. So again, we're in the green area. After this, we would like you, the town, to provide a letter back to the DOT stating if you support or not support a road safety audit project to come out of this. It's very important that we get that letter back so it documents that you would like us to move forward with a federally funded project if we're going in that direction. With that, I'm going to turn it over to John and let him cover the concepts and
Michelle. I tend to wander around a little bit, so I may try to pull that off. Okay, so, yeah, I know I know all of you have been involved right along, so
Maybe you just state your name, please.
John Butler, John Butler with New Hampshire DOT. I did want to just review kind of the highlights that came out of the road safety audit, both what we're seeing as the problems, the deficiencies at the intersection, and some of the potential solutions that are outlined in the road safety audit document. In terms of what was seen as the safety concerns at the intersection, we really ended up summarizing all those issues into 7 basic categories. And those are listed, I don't know if any of you brought your copy of the road safety audit, but they're listed on page 20 of the report. The first item is driver behavior issues, primarily talking about speeding along Route 3. Second issue was visibility of the intersection, so meaning if you're driving on Route 3 approaching the intersection, it's not as evident as it might be that you are coming to an intersection, either because of the crest in Route 3 to the north or various other signs, fences, what have you, approaching from the south. Third item was intersection sight distance. So that's now talking about if you're the vehicle on Silver Lake Road trying to pull out onto Route 3, your restricted visibility in both directions, again, due to those same items that I just mentioned. Fourth item was access management, primarily talking about the issue with right adjacent to the intersection is kind of the wide open parking area for the Smoke and Barley, which can cause some confusion as to where people are or are not turning onto and off of Route 3 in the vicinity of the intersection. Fifth item was pedestrians and bicyclists. We did the road safety audit in December, so we didn't see pedestrians and bicyclists, but you all have made us aware that during the summer months there certainly are pedestrians and bicyclists here that we need to be to take into account. Sixth item was narrow cross-section, and what that's talking about is on Route 3, really there are no turning lanes on Route 3. There's no safe way if you're turning onto Silver Lake Road to get out of the flow of the through traffic, and there's relatively narrow shoulders as well in this area. And the last item was the intersection skew, so meaning Silver Lake Road intersects Route 3 today at really about a 45-degree angle, and that creates some difficulties in being able to see in both directions, and also making those turns can be a little awkward when you have such a severely skewed intersection angle. So those were the broad categories of deficiencies that were identified during the road safety audit. And I thought I would next skip to, again, if you have the report with you, back in Appendix E, which is almost in the very end of the report. Appendix E summarizes the various potential strategies that we could employ here to try to improve safety. And those are summarized into 4 different categories: near-term, intermediate-term, long-term, and what's called proactive strategies. So I think those are all pretty self-evident what they're getting at. The proactive, I guess I'd clarify, the proactive is talking about things that weren't necessarily identified as a specific problem here based on the accident data that we had, but there's still issues that we want to consider with whatever we end up doing here for a project. I wanted to kind of specifically and briefly run through the intermediate and the long-term strategies that are identified in here, because those are combined on these 3 plans that you see up here into 3 potential combinations of strategies to form an overall safety improvement project. And, each and every one of these has pros and cons. There isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer here. We're trying to build consensus on what makes the most sense to all of us to move forward with. I'm just going to start with the long-term strategies. There are 4 of them listed at the bottom of page E3. First one says, consider installing southbound left turn lane to remove left turn vehicles from the through lane. So obviously in the southbound direction, if we were to install a left turn lane, that gets those vehicles safely out of the through traffic, so they're not sitting in the through lane in danger of getting into a rear end crash from other southbound vehicles. The downside of doing something like that, it means having to widen Route 3 and potentially have some impacts to the abutting properties in the area. And at this point, we haven't collected any sort of ground survey information. We're strictly drawing sketches on aerial photographs, so whatever we choose to move forward with, we'll have to get more detailed ground survey and really put some engineering to it. The second long-term strategy is reduce crest vertical curve to the north of the intersection to improve sight distance. So several hundred feet to the north of the intersection is a crest in Route 3, which makes it, or limits sight distance to the intersection and from the intersection. So the thought would be, well, maybe we could lower that and improve that sight distance. And that's something, again, we could look at once we get some detailed survey information to see exactly what would be involved, how long of a reconstruction section we'd have to do, how much we'd have to lower it. The downside with that is lowering the elevation of Route 3 means having to fully reconstruct the structural section, which gets fairly expensive fairly quickly, and again, potential impacts to abutting properties and trying to match the driveways that are in the area. Is that feasible if we were to lower the elevation of the road? The third long-term strategy listed is consider installing northbound right turn lane to separate vehicles from the through traffic. So similar to the left turn lane idea, if you're traveling northbound, turning right into the intersection could potentially widen Route 3 to provide a right turn lane to get out of the through lane while you decelerate to make the right-hand turn. And the last long-term strategy was realign Silver Lake Road to reduce the intersection skew. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. In some fashion, bring the end of Silver Lake Road into Route 3 in more of a 90-degree fashion. I don't think we would ever truly get to a 90-degree intersection, which would be ideal, but at least make it better than it is today by reducing that skew angle to something a little more manageable. Moving on to the interim or the intermediate solutions, which are at the top of page E3. The first one says, consider implementing lane narrowing effect through striping and rumble strips. It says on the northbound approach, but we'd really be talking both northbound and southbound. So the idea with this philosophy is really strictly getting at the speed control issue, trying to narrow up the lanes, put in a center painted median area where you might have rumble strips, both in that center median and on the edges, really all in the interest of trying to get people to slow down as they travel through the intersection on Route 3. Second item is consider installing a traffic signal if warrants are met. We did actually, subsequent to the RSA last December, we did come out here and collect traffic data at the intersection. I believe it was in July. And we ran through the signal warrant analysis. And signal warrants are just kind of a series of tests, nationally accepted criteria that tell us if an intersection is or is not a good candidate for signalization. And mostly it has to do with having certain thresholds of traffic volume at the intersection over certain periods of time. And it looks at both having a certain threshold of volume on the main road, so in this case Route 3, and on the minor road, in this case Silver Lake Road. And the signal warrant analysis that we did with the traffic data that we just collected this year panned out that this intersection really does not meet the criteria for installing a traffic signal. plenty of traffic on Route 3 to meet that portion of the warrant, but the volume of traffic on Silver Lake Road did not meet the criteria that we would want to see for justifying the installation of a traffic signal. So even if this met the warrants for installing a traffic signal, we would still have some concerns with that in this particular location, primarily due to the fact that it is on a relatively steep grade on Route 3, so stopping as you're coming down the grade and getting started after stopping as you're coming up the grade during inclement weather would be a concern. And the fact that it's for southbound traffic, it's shortly after this crest, and now if we're going to stop traffic southbound on a regular basis, there's a concern for actually an increased number of rear-end crashes as people come over the crest and are confronted by the stop traffic at the traffic light. So in our view, installing a traffic signal here isn't necessarily the right way to go. The third item under intermediate strategies, consider installing overhead flashing beacon to draw attention to the intersection. That's a possibility, and we can consider that as part of whatever we do here. Our thought, as we kicked that idea around internally, was we think there are other strategies that would be more effective for alerting drivers on Route 3 to the presence of the intersection. One of them is listed in one of the short-term strategies, but we would want to consider doing advanced intersection signage on either side of the intersection with some sort of sign that says intersection ahead or vehicles entering when flashing, with a flashing beacon on the sign that would activate when there actually is vehicles on Silver Lake Road looking to get out onto Route 3. We think that would be a more effective way to communicate to the Route 3 traffic that they're approaching an active intersection rather than the standard overhead flashing beacon. But both of those things can be considered as part of the package that we end up pursuing. Fourth item, acquire sightline easements to move fence and sightlines. And that's talking about primarily looking to your left, to the south. If you're coming out of Silver Lake Road, the fence and there's signage and stuff along the frontage of the nursery that really seems to inhibit the amount of sight distance that you have looking in that direction. So we would look at the possibility of acquiring some sort of sightline easement along the frontage of that property and potentially setting the fence or a portion of the fence back to improve your sight distance looking out of Silver Lake Road. Again, that's something we look at with more detail once we get real survey plans to work with. Consider restricting left turns from Silver Lake Road. It's kind of an idea we had kicked around during the RSA process. Basically, put a sign or some sort of island at the end of Silver Lake Road so that you would not be allowed to make a left turn out of Silver Lake Road. You could only make a right turn out of Silver Lake Road. Well, I think kind of the decision was that's likely just to shift traffic somewhere else, Church Street, for example, and perhaps just move the problem to another location. So I guess I'm not sure how practical that strategy is. Next one was identify opportunities. The next two really kind of go hand in hand. Identify opportunities to combine, delineate, and/or relocate access points to improve safety, and implement improvements to channelize access point to the Smoke and Barley to modify flow of vehicles from Route 3. So basically, that's all talking about what we call access management. So in the area of the intersection, ideally, we like to not have driveways immediately adjacent to the intersection. So ideally, in terms of the Smoke and Barley, we would like to see some sort of island across part of that open frontage on Route 3 so that the driveway is more discreet and it would be further away from the intersection and you wouldn't have people coming in and out of Smoke and Barley, basically right adjacent to Silver Lake Road, where people are turning in and out of there at the same time. So those two items are generally talking about what we call access management of driveways in the vicinity of the intersection. And the last item is improve existing wide shoulder on the southbound approach of Route 3 to create a formal bypass lane. So that's kind of a less expensive alternative to providing a formal left turn lane. The idea being you widen out the shoulder on the southbound side, so if somebody is stopped here to make the left turn, the through traffic can use the shoulder to go around those vehicles. And you can kind of do that today, but there's really not enough pavement width there to do that very safely or comfortably, so we could more formalize that shoulder width to act as what we'd call a bypass shoulder.
They do that now.
Right, we saw some do it, yeah.
Do that now.
Yeah,
And it's actually very dangerous.
Yeah.
Because if they stop and let somebody off Silver Lake come out, this guy comes around, they're right there.
yeah,
Seen it happen a few
Yeah.
times.
okay. So to kind of summarize, those are what I would call the more significant strategies that are outlined in the report. So these three concepts, which are also in the report, are an attempt to combine some of those into an overall safety improvement project. And there's nothing that says that we have to choose one of these three. We can certainly mix and match from all the different ideas that are in the RSA. But for discussion purposes, alternative one up here shows improving the skew of Silver Lake Road a little bit by swinging it out and bringing it in at more of a right angle. It's still not truly a right angle intersection. It does show conceptually reducing the crest on Route 3 in this area, and it shows improving the access management issues by defining a driveway for Smoke and Barley, and also shows doing some sidewalk improvements to connect the sidewalk on Silver Lake Road more formally with the sidewalk on Route 3. So obviously a downside with this alternative, the relocation of Silver Lake Road, or the realigning of Silver Lake Road, will have some impacts to probably the two abutting properties immediately adjacent to the intersection, so the nursery and the Smoke and Barley. We would look to minimize that as much as possible, but there would almost certainly be some impacts to those properties with doing that. Second alternative basically looks at putting in the turning lanes on Route 3. This has the southbound left turn lane and a northbound right turn lane for turning into Silver Lake Road. Also has the access management improvements at Smoke and Barley and the sidewalk connectivity improvements. Downside with this one is, widening of Route 3 is likely to have some sort of impacts to abutting properties along Route 3. And again, don't know exactly what that would mean until we get some real survey and took a harder look at that, but would likely be at least some slope easements required onto those properties in the area of the widening. And one other advantage I did want to point out with the left turn lane strategy is the left turn pocket, the striping in the middle of the road to create the left turn pocket would start on the north side of the crest on Route 3. So at least with that alternative, somebody driving south on Route 3 is going to see that striping creating the turn pocket before they go over the crest, and will hopefully alert them to the fact that they're coming to an intersection, need to slow down, need to pay attention. So that's another possible way to increase the awareness of the upcoming intersection. Third idea is strictly the speed management idea of narrowing the lanes in the area of the intersection by putting in a center painted island area, installing rumble strips in the center island and on the shoulders in the vicinity here to really force people to slow down as they drive through the intersection area. Also shows, the access management and the sidewalk improvements as well. We have some concerns with this alternative, with the volume of traffic and the truck traffic on this route. Narrowing the lanes to a significant degree would be a bit of a concern to us. And the rumble strips, for any residences in the area, that typically is going to be a concern to them with the noise issue from the rumble strips. So I wanted to summarize, I guess, that, like I say, these are three potential combinations of ideas. We're here to hear what you guys think are good ideas or are not good ideas. We've kind of kicked around this list of different strategies internally, and to us at DOT, from our perspective, the ones that are kind of rising to the top from our perspective would be the idea of a left turn lane for southbound traffic turning left onto Silver Lake Road. The idea of realigning Silver Lake Road at least a little bit at the end to lessen that severe skew angle between Silver Lake Road and Route 3. Doing the access management improvements and the sidewalk improvements in the immediate area of the intersection to try to better define particularly the access point for the Smoke and Barley. And I guess lastly, some sort of advanced intersection signage to improve intersection recognition. And we're thinking along the lines of those intersection ahead signs with some sort of flashing beacon tied to vehicles exiting Silver Lake Road. So those were kind of, when we talked about it internally, those were kind of the ideas that we thought rose to the top, if you will, from this list, but we're here today to hear what you guys think. So I don't know, did you want to wrap up with anything, Michelle, before we dive into that, or? Okay, let's dive into that.
When you widen a road for the left turn access, typically, what are you talking about feet? So if the road is 30 feet, how many feet would you widen it?
Yeah, typically the left turn lane would be 12 feet wide, so we're probably looking at widening by 6 feet on each side of the road if we widen equally about the existing center line. And I mean, normally that's what we'd start with unless there was some extraordinary control on one side versus the other. We can do the widening all to one side or all to the other side, but so ballpark, I think we'd be talking 6 feet on each side.
If you took 6 feet from each side, you would pretty much take almost all of the parking in the front for Smoke and Barley. You couldn't get, if you pull into Smoke and Barley and head your vehicle in front of the store, you probably only have 5 feet behind your vehicle to the end of the street. So you're pretty much taking away their front-end parking altogether.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, we'd have to look at that once we get real survey here and real dimensions, but.
Well, and that just gives you more road you now have to get across. If you're coming out of Silver Lake Road and you're going to head left or east, or some people say south, if you have a turning lane there and you've made the road wider, now I've got to get across more road before I can turn to go east. And the other thing is there isn't a lot of talk about lowering the speed limit. I mean, quite frankly, anybody drives a stretch of Route 3 between 93 and even Laconia, that speed limit should be no more than 35. It really shouldn't. There's too many businesses, too many people walking around on the road for it to be where it's at. Because people don't drive the speed limit. They're usually 10 miles an hour over, and I've tested it numerous times. I've been in the front of the parade, and people are pretty angry, even though I'm going the speed limit. But if I've got to come out of Silver Lake Road, the time for me to get out of there, if a car has gone past that entrance on Route 3 to the greenhouse, I'm not pulling out in front of it because I know it's going to get me before I get into the other lane.
You can't see the entrance.
You put a right-hand turn into Silver Lake Road there, and those cars that are turning into Silver Lake Road may stop, but now that through traffic's going to keep going, and a car that might turn down into Silver Lake Road may stop. And sometimes they have to get past anybody who's at the entrance, but at least that's going to give you an out, because they've now slowed the traffic or stopped it behind you. Now you can get out there.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking at that properly,
And, no, that's a good point. I mean, as far as the right turn lane goes, we don't necessarily think that's a great thing to do here.
It's a terrible thing to
For the
do.
reasons you're saying, partly, and partly because it's going to increase the impact along the nursery for, I guess, what we would say is a modest safety benefit. I mean, it reduces the rear-end crash potential for people coming in this direction, but it raises other concerns, just like you're talking about.
It
Well, the other-
increases the site, but that's about it.
Exactly. The other issue is if you narrow the entrance into Smoke and Barley, now cars headed west, or east, headed towards Laconia,
Yeah.
east.
they're going to stop because they're not going to be able to swoop in. Right now, if somebody wants to pull into Smoke and Barley, they go past the intersection of Silver Lake Road and they scoot in. They're going to have to stop and physically turn in because, as Pat says, there isn't much room in the front anyway to park. So if this car's already there, they're going to have to stop and maneuver around the back ends. They probably won't be able to fit, depending on where they are. And now you're sitting at Silver Lake Road, hoping to turn west, but you're not going to be able to because there's a line of traffic in front of you stopped.
And now you can't see off to the right at all.
No.
Cars coming over the crest of that hill.
Yeah, but that's something you can take the crest out.
That's
Well,
a
that's-
last ditch
That's
effort.
something that we'll look at. I say it's,
That sounds almost totally unworkable. I live at the end of that street, and I do it go there several times a day. Actually, I don't, because I go up to church in River Road.
Yeah.
yeah, and we heard a lot of people say that, yeah.
Unfortunately, those neighborhoods are being impacted
It out onto
by that increase in traffic that
That-
this Silver Lake Road is designed to carry.
To ingress or egress.
Except for when they get to the end of it, the design of it and the sight distance is so
They had to.
limited,
that would add to the-
it makes it unworkable as a connector.
I don't know.
Which is what it is from Belmont to Tilton. I like straightening out the end of the street, moving back the fence in front of the,
The nursery.
whatchamacallit there, the nursery. And the whole Smoke and Barley thing, I'm a patron of that store. No matter what you do there, it's going to be a problem. Really. What Catherine was saying, now they got to stop to make the turn, and now they're going to be able to make it, and now you've got a car that ostensibly is trying to make a left-hand turn as well, and you might be surprised, but not everybody cedes the right of way.
What if the Smoke and Barley ingress and egress was limited to Silver Lake Road?
Or maybe just ingress from
From Silver Lake, right.
And they had the egress onto Silver Lake Road.
Would
We already have
anybody
one
take,
there, so.
look at that?
I guess we kicked around a lot of different ideas as far as how to best access Smoke and Barley. Yeah, you're suggesting in here and out there, right? Is that what you're suggesting?
I was suggesting
That's
in and
one
out, but
scenario.
that would work, that's one scenario. I was suggesting in and out of Silver Lake,
Yeah, so no access here, and just everything here.
but they were saying in one and out the other.
Yeah. We're certainly all for anything that better defines the access onto the high-volume.
If you widen the road by 12 feet, you're going to take some of that parking, and you're not going to be able to park in front of Smoke and Barley because you literally have about 5 feet. Once my vehicle gets in there, you have about 5 feet to the end of the road.
Once you start backing out.
Right.
It's a car's lane.
And so if you have a curbing there, like they want to have a curbing there, you would literally have to back up into that corner and then head out, which is going to be a problem for people coming in. in the parking lot.
What if they did straighten it out like they're showing here? That would leave this land here. Why couldn't that, if he came in here, then he could have his parking this way and avoid
That's what I
parking
was-
right
yeah.
in front?
There's a sidewalk there.
Well, the sidewalk would still be there, but I mean, it would give them more room for parking on that side.
They'd move that sidewalk over,
Yeah, they'd move it over to match up with the new road,
so you'd gain a couple feet.
yeah.
When you're accessing Route 3 and 11 from Silver Lake Road, you know, for me, the two major problems is the speed of the cars that I'm trying to dodge to get out into the traffic, and the delivery trucks that park on Route 311.
Yes.
Right on.
It's amazing.
Blocks all vision.
And I was headed east and thought, oh, this is great. I'm going to pull out Silver Lake Road and head east. This is easy. And there's the truck. I was out in the center line trying to get around the truck.
Yeah, you're
So I
talking
could
about
get
in front of Smoke and Barley,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, no, we saw that when we were out there as well, yeah.
It's incredible. I mean, our officers can't be everywhere,
Right.
you know, so when they...
And they have lots of room behind, but I would presume if you're the delivery guy, you want the shortest distance from your truck
Well,
to
look
the...
at it from a customer standpoint, too. If you park out in the back of the building and you have to walk around to the front, do you really want to spend the time just to go in and get a pack of cigarettes or a six-pack of beer, and then walk back out there, and then go back into traffic? Are you going to stop there, or are you going to go up to Shop Express where they have it right out front?
Depends how thirsty you are.
Yeah.
I think one of the primary
Oh, go ahead.
things that we should discuss is reducing the speed.
Right.
I just wanted to know if it's, are we allowed to participate?
Yes, absolutely.
I would like to ask, I'd like to just dwell on the signalization. I love that word, that's interesting.
Hey,
First of all, your study that said, well, it's not really appropriate for the numbers of the people that use that. I'd like you to take into consideration the fact that if a signal were installed, you might find more people who would be using it to turn left because it would be a controlled intersection then. It is really, in this whole scenario, isn't it a left turn in Silver Lake that's driving this whole safety on?
well, the accident data showed about half of the crashes are people coming out of Silver Lake Road getting hit by somebody on Route 3, but the other half is this southbound rear-end crash issue, people
Right.
coming over the crest and rear-ending somebody.
And also, that data that you have, the accident data, that doesn't really take into account near misses, does it?
Well, not if they're not reported,
So,
no.
I mean, and that's another safety consideration, but the kind of, the way I look at this is that, and I've gotten emails from the DOT, and it says, one life lost is one life too many, and so you can, just using that slogan, you can sort of throw away some of your data, but if there's a potential there of a horrendous accident, signal seems to be the most economical, the quickest, and the most effective. And when you talk about the numbers, are you suggesting that there's only a few people coming out of Silver Lake that would be like only one or two waiting on that traffic signal and be stopping hordes of people on Route 3? You'd want to have more like 5 in a line waiting to turn left to make it more practical? Or don't forget, I mean, I believe signals can be adjusted electronically so that you have, of course, sensors, you have timers, you have all kinds of variables to make that practical in its application along Route 3 so that it's not backing up the traffic on Route 3 significantly just to make it safer for a few, and I think, and you would end up with more people turning left or right.
Yeah. I mean, your point about drawing other traffic here is a good one, yeah. I don't really have a way to quantify that,
No,
but I understand what you're
it's very
saying.
difficult. It would
Yeah.
be very difficult, if not impossible, to quantify that, because if that signal were there and people knew it were there and knew they could rely on it to turn left
Right.
safely, I think you might find more people using it.
Yeah.
And especially coming out of, if there's a suggestion that maybe the Smoke and Barley use Silver Lake as egress and ingress, if that were adjusted, again, that would increase the traffic flow coming in and out of Silver Lake, so.
Okay.
Just a thought.
Anything else?
The issue that you brought up in the report about all the signs hanging off the chain link fence for the nursery, is that a town ordinance issue, or can the DOT make some sort of ruling about not blocking vision in a intersection?
Although I do believe they have a sign, the sign is not part of the site problem. They have, that fence is an enclosure for their plants. The plants grow, there's trees and all sorts of, you can't see over the trees.
Right.
And because there's a bend in the, right there, that fence, instead of being straight along line of sight, is bent with the road. And so it comes out, and they have the trees and whatever right out to the fence, I actually look up the hill, way up the hill, and wait till there's a break there, several hundred yards down the road, and then I'll know that there's not a car doing 50 miles an hour coming around that I can't see by that fence.
There's also a small signage problem in there when you're looking on, when you're sitting on Silver Lake and take a left, there's small signs that obstruct your view.
Right.
And I think that's what we're talking about.
I mean,
Oh, that's an easy.
If they'd slow down, it wouldn't be such a problem.
My guess would be the fence is probably right on the right-of-way line. That's another thing we would verify if we get survey out here and fully look into that. You know, and obviously, we can't control anything that's not within the right-of-way. So he is free to do what he would like on his side of the fence if that truly is along the right-of-way. So, yeah, what we're suggesting is, you know, looking at acquiring a sightline easement along a portion of that frontage and probably setting the fence back along that sightline that we're trying to open up as the means to improve sight distance to the south.
If you change the skew of Silver Lake Road to Route 311, I'm wondering what that would do to the driver's line of sight looking east, because Route 3 isn't straight there. It kind of curves a little bit as you're looking up the road. It's not like you're looking down a straight road. So it'd be to the back of the driver's vision. And you'd really have to, yeah,
If you
you'd have to
straighten
turn
it,
right
if you
around.
straighten it out, see, you come up to that intersection, and you have to look back over your shoulder like this to see Route 3. This one, not so bad, but you have to, a lot of older individuals have a tough time with that to start with now, considering they're doing 50 and 55 coming both ways. You can look this way, and then you look this way, and you look this way, and you say, okay, I can go, but there's a car cresting the hill at 55 miles an hour. It's because it's skewed, you straighten it out, and you can just look from side to side. You have, as a entering car, you have more opportunity to see
That's the whole idea.
without ripping the ligaments in your neck.
Right,
We
yeah.
older folks
I
have
do-
that issue, you know.
Ideally, we like our intersections to be 90 degrees, so you just have to look 90 degrees, 90
Yeah,
degrees.
yeah, it's
That's
easier
the
that way.
ideal from our perspective.
But doesn't the road you're coming up to be perpendicular have to be straight?
Well, I mean, in this case,
Curves away from your 90 degrees.
but I guess I don't think it does, looking to the east.
Quite frankly, I don't remember what it
Because
does.
the crest,
If it
I
was
mean,
close,
the
it would
crest
be
is
a
in
help.
here, and this doesn't start to curve away until, like you wouldn't even see this part of the road because it's over the crest. So I don't think so. I mean, next time you're out there, take a look, but I don't think
Something
that's the
that I
case.
haven't heard you mention
What about there?
is that currently, people are straightening out that intersection themselves. But they're pulling as they straighten out. Me, I go way over to the side and straighten.
Yes.
I'm still in my lane. They're not, now you can't make a left-hand turn whatsoever. Anything bigger than a VW Bug can't make a right turn coming off of Route 3 either, because that car on Silver Lake, and now it's a total, well, I won't use the term I would ordinarily in,
Going northbound?
oh, no.
Taking a right off of Silver Lake?
If you're taking a right onto Silver Lake,
Oh, onto Silver Lake.
but there's a car on Silver Lake that tried to straighten out the road because it's skewed, because they can't turn their head to the left. Now they're in the other lane. Making a right onto Silver Lake, you can't do it because now there's a car partly in your road.
How wide is Silver Lake, do we know?
Regulation width, there's no side pieces to it, you know? There's no breakdown lane, it's just regular width, but
27.
the only issue with Silver Lake is that
Probably
that
28, 30 feet wide,
intersection
maybe.
skew is harsh.
There's very little conversation in this report. There is some, but not a lot, about speed, and I know I keep talking about it. In the conclusions on page 20, it's not even mentioned as one of the 7 major safety issues. And I'm curious why speed is not one of those major safety issues.
Well, I guess,
And it's the cheapest thing to solve, I would think, in this puzzle. You know? Change the speed
Bill's
signs.
just aching to dive in here, I'm sure.
You know? Change the speed signs.
Save me, Bill.
Bill, go sit back down.
Hi there, I'm Bill Lambert, State Traffic Engineer. A little bit of a change since the last time we probably talked speed limits in the town of Tilton is, as of August 10th, that authority went from the district engineers, which in this case would be Mark Morrow, to the State Traffic Engineer, which is me. So I guess it's timely that I can come talk about it. And yeah, I agree, it's very inexpensive to change signs to put a different speed limit number on them. But the reality is, if that's all you do, you haven't changed the speed of traffic. New Hampshire is a reasonable and prudent standard state, which means that drivers are expected to drive at a speed that's reasonable and prudent for conditions, and typically that is defined as the 85th percentile. So if we were to look at this corridor and study the speed of traffic on this corridor, and find that level, that speed, that includes 85% of the vehicles that are on the road, that's typically what you would want to set the speed limit at. And I think, like you said, that if the traffic is traveling that fast here, then that 85th percentile would probably be at least 45, if not 55 or thereabouts. So I think that, I don't know what it's posted there now, Chief, it's 40. So if it's posted 40, I'm thinking that's a lot lower than what it would be if we did a speed study here, because the 85th percentile, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, I would think it's probably closer to 50.
If not 55.
Yeah.
5 to 47, probably.
Yeah, so I think typically we try to set the speed limit at within 5 miles an hour of the posted speed. So to lower the speed, I think you have to do other things. This narrowing the lanes is one of those attempts to do that, and there may be other things that can be done within the design parameters. But if all we do is change the signs, we haven't changed the actual speed of the traffic, unless the chief's out there night and day and all day long with blue lights. And then I think that tends to do it over time, but that's a burden on the town as well. And just
But if
there's
it's
another.
a safety issue, I mean, if you look at that road today.
Well, if it's a
when that
safety issue, you need them to go 40.
Speed limit was posted, and now you look at what the road has become.
Right.
I mean, even in my lifetime, I'm going by, that wasn't there, that wasn't there, that wasn't there, that wasn't
Right,
there.
but I think that before we would consider lowering the speed limit, we'd like to see the actual prevailing speed closer to what the existing posted speed is. 40 miles an hour,
Saying that the speeder sets the speed limit.
that's the way the New Hampshire state law works. It's a reasonable and prudent standard.
Okay, legislative representative, that's insane.
You know, 85% of the people could be wrong, could deal with it. If 85% of the people are speeding right now, it's because the speed limit, they're just used to going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. So if the speed limit were lowered, they would continue.
Well,
And then
Passive,
do the 85%.
passive enforcement.
I can give you,
Want him to go 45, you lower it to 35.
I can give you,
might go 40.
I can give you one clear example. If you folks are familiar with Route 3 between Hooksett and Allenstown, there's a stretch of 40 miles an hour between that's posted there, presumably because there's one driveway that accesses 4 houses on that stretch of road. Everything else is wide open and clear, and even there, it's wide open and clear, but it's posted 40 for that one location. And we've got a speed study that was conducted not by the DOT, so it's not biased by our practice, but by a consultant for Manchester Sand and Gravel that wanted to develop their property in that area. And the speed study in that 40-mile-an-hour posted zone was 85th percentile, 57 to 58 miles an hour. So what I'm saying is that if all they do is change the number on the sign, you haven't changed the driver behavior. Because
the problem.
arguably, if that posted speed limit in Hooksett was 50 miles an hour, the 85th percentile would still be 57, 58. And we've got other studies that have shown that that's the case, that if all we're doing is changing the signs, the actual speed of the traffic doesn't change that much, maybe a mile an hour at the most. We're going to find out even better on the interstates this January when the speed limit north of Concord goes to 70 miles an hour. My personal feeling is that we're not going to see a lot of change in the traffic speed as a result of that
Because you're doing
5-mile-an-hour increase. So I'm more than happy to do a speed study out there, work with the chief to see if there's some other things that we can do out there. But as far as just, I know it's cheap to change the signs, but what we do is we further discipline the motorists to say, well, it says 30 here, but it's really comfortable at 40 or 45. What we really want to do is we want the posted speed limit to be what we think is reasonable and prudent for the conditions, and not 10 miles an hour below that, so that we can set the tickets higher. That's the challenge with speed limits.
Going through there, how much of it are people that are, delivery trucks and people that aren't really familiar with the fact that that is a dangerous intersection? I mean, they might think road conditions warrant 40 or 50 miles an hour.
That's the challenge, and that's what some of the other things that John was talking about with the danger, or the intersection warning signs. And we talked about something that was, one of the options here was a dynamic intersection warning sign, something that would only be on when there's a car at Silver Lake Road looking to enter the road. That doesn't address the conflicts with the people coming in and out of the Smoke and Barley, but it addresses the Silver Lake Road. We don't have any of those in the state. They do exist. I think Maine is the closest state that has them. My concern with that is some of the systems that I've seen out there actually show a car, and it says car, be prepared to stop when flashing, or something to that effect. And my concern with that would be is if the light doesn't work, if the power goes out, or if the bulb is out, then it's telling the motorist that nobody's there, and it's telling them the wrong message. So I'd want it to be more subtle than that. The typical intersection warning sign with the beacons on it that would only come on when there's traffic there. So it still has the correct message when it's not on, but it's not telling somebody something incorrect. The other concern I have with that is if that works here and it's functional here, there's probably 1,000 or more intersections in the state that would be just as qualified to have it, and I have some concerns about adding that kind of a burden into our maintenance responsibility.
If you,
One thing about, we've sort of been going around with an issue in Franklin. And I took my personally owned radar gun out and sat alongside the road, and there's one section of Franklin right by the Armory where you're coming northbound on Route 3. The speed limit is 50, you're supposed to slow to 30. There's a sign warning you to slow to 30, and then there's a sign that says 30. I was a half mile beyond that with my little radar gun, and people were going by me at an average in a 30 mile an hour posted zone, 42 miles an hour, with the odd person doing 55 or 57 miles an hour in a 30 mile an hour zone, because they were told to slow down from 50 to 30, and most people won't do it. But the most interesting thing was, those who were doing 34 were doing so because the person in front of them was doing it, and they were all lined up 4, 5, 6 feet, and they couldn't pass them.
So what you're saying is...
That tells me that the people that were, all the 5 people behind that person doing 34 wanted to go a lot faster. I have a hard time with the 85 percentile.
well, in any event, we really need something to fix the issue, because it's not being fixed just doing nothing. That's the obvious. So if you were to decrease the lane to slow the traffic down, as John had said, how much would you decrease the lane by?
That's a good question. Yeah, the concept that's in the RSA shows narrowing the lanes, and I think it's on here too, shows narrowing the lanes to 9 feet wide. That's a very narrow lane. Standard width is 12 feet.
So you'd actually up it beyond the crest, it would be wider, and then you would come to a smaller lane? Both sides would be smaller?
That's the idea, yeah. Where it exactly starts and ends, I don't know. but that's the philosophy, yeah. For some distance prior to the intersection, you'd take the yellow stripe in the middle and the white stripe on this side, and they'd go from 12 feet to 9 feet in this case. I doubt we would support 9 feet. If we were to go with this philosophy, we would probably support narrowing from some, say, 12 to 11. We certainly do 11s commonly. Narrower than that becomes problematic when you've got a lot of truck traffic.
So options would be to skew the corner of the Silver Lake Road, talking about ingress, egress off the corner of the property on Smoke and Barley, looking at the signage or the site view off of the property on the nursery, either making a left-hand turn in the south direction or narrowing the lane to slow the traffic down to take a left-hand turn so that they can safely take a left-hand turn. I'm not sure that putting the speed bump in the lane, would really work in that area safely. And taking a right-hand turn is not quite as much as a problem as coming out and taking a left-hand turn or taking a right.
It's not anything like the problem making a left out of there.
So
It is a shot, well, it's not so bad because the road's skewed, but making a left.
Well, there's some things that they can do now, correct? I mean, there's some things that you can start short-term that we can say yay to, and you can go out and do those that are cost-effective. The burden's on the state, right?
On some of those things, on the short-term strategy, some of those things are town-type things, increased enforcement, stuff like that.
We need a speed trap then.
Lower the
And maybe
speed,
that's not
the
the
bells and
technical
whistles that go
term,
with
but-
it. The the flashing light that warns that the speed is reduced, the rumble strips,
If you
That's
put a
gonna save
dynamic
lives.
flashing, if you put a dynamic flashing or some type of flashing to say, that is, would the burden be on the state to do that, or would it be a cost to us to do that?
it's a state road, both of them.
Okay.
That would be the state would...
Are you talking this year to do it, or are you talking next year?
So, and maybe-
Are you talking this year to do it, or next year?
If there's conduit involved, it would take a little while. We'd have to get somebody out there to excavate, so that's probably next year. But if we found a wireless technology that would communicate from the detection on Silver Lake Road to the signs, we could probably do that within that. I'm not sure when this process wraps up, but whenever the process wraps up, it will be months after that.
If they did something like that, short term, would there be a follow-up to find out how effective that approach is?
That was my next question. Well, I mean, if we start off with the short term and say, this could, not solve the problem, but this could take a good percentage of the issues away if we do X, X, and X, and so 6 months down the road, if you came back and said, okay, let's take another serious look at it, and are we on the right track? If we're not, then we need to look at the intermediate and the, further on.
Dynamic sign installation, I would definitely want to do follow-up, because, like I said, if the work here is probably 1,000 locations are better than it would work
It would be
across
more
the
cost
state.
effective.
And I don't want to put 1,000 in if it's not going to be effective.
Right.
But if we find that it is effective, then I think that would be a good opportunity to reduce crashes.
We could use this as a pilot.
Well, can you use the flashing is not necessarily in conjunction with widening or narrowing the lane? You could use that and keep the road the way it is, or no?
Certainly correlate the impact of crash crashes a lot better if you only do one thing. If you did everything else, everything would crash. And it would work.
Right.
Busy intersection ahead or something, why they wouldn't do anything.
Well, we have a posted speed limit that's ignored within the town of Tilton. It seems like we need to investigate what kind of resources we need to enforce that speed. Contact the state police, it's a state road, see if they can help us out as well with enforcing the rules and regulations. Whether it's trucks parked in the road in front of Smoke and Barley, or cars coming 55 and 60 over the crest of that hill. If everybody slowed down to 40, that would alleviate a lot of this, a lot of the danger. You still can't see, but at least they're not doing, such extreme speeds.
Well, you can go the speed limit and then get to the hill where Catherine lives, and then just coast down the hill, and you're going past the speed limit.
Yeah, but we're not talking about where Catherine lives. We're talking about a very specific intersection where there's a number of crashes, a lot of close calls. I haven't ever had a crash.
That's what's happening.
but
They're
I've
coming
had
down that hill and
10
coming in.
close calls.
The point that Pat's make, I think, is because of the steepness of the hill
Right,
where
it's
I
going
live,
shoom.
people pick up speed, and I can tell you they pick up speed. They
Right.
come
Coming
they
down
come
that
up,
way,
they
yes,
get that
they
hill
do.
and whoom.
But like I say, you could see the part of that hill over to the left.
Yeah.
And I can actually tell where the break in traffic is by looking way up there at Catherine's Hill.
I'm too old to remember which color the car was that I have to pull out and back of
I just say, white van,
before the next one comes.
oh, colored line.
Blue car, blue car, blue car, there it is.
So I think we need, when do you need to have our decisions and input to what we've talked about?
Submit your comments in a letter format to the DOT, and we can get whatever you would like started.
How effective are the interactive signs that tell you how fast you're going? The speed limit was lowered, and then there was a sign saying, hey, you're going over the speed limit. It seems to me that the excessive speed is just a force of habit, that people are so used to going fast on that road. But another issue, which Pat brought up, is coming down that hill, people that are turning right onto Brook Road. There are several times I've just about slammed into somebody because you just don't anticipate, nobody ever takes that road. And the few times that they do, you're not ready for it.
But I can
Had an
tell you,
accident on
though,
that
with
road.
this, with our speed
right down
trailer that we
That's
put out, and then probably you can speak on that, that when people see the speed trailer, does it really slow the people down? Or do they ignore it?
No, I think it does. I've sat there with it. Anything they see slows them down. Warning signs, flashing lights, speed trailers, or our cars slow them down. They do radar out there. They write a lot of tickets out there, and that's for our later presentation. But I mean, we write the heck out of that road. But you can't write everybody or get everyone. And they take the worst of the worst. So if 10 cars go by them doing, between 45 and 52, they're going to take the 52s. And but you'd have to be out there constantly with numerous cars to stop everything that's over 40. But the whole stretch of road has many hills and valleys that cause us accidents. This area is probably one of the worst. We've had many really bad rear ends at Brook. One, a woman was rear-ended and it sent her car flying into Rusty's parking lot.
Yeah.
And it's a miracle there wasn't serious injuries there.
Yeah.
But it's all the old road design. But anything, and the more we do out there is going to help and be better.
I agree. Okay, so we'll wrap it up, and the board will try to get our thoughts to collectively in consensus and send it to you. All right?
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming
Thank you
in
for all
and
your
giving
work.
us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Should we have a public hearing for the people affected in that area before we submit recommendations?
We've invited the people to come today.
I invite people all the time. I actually invited the owner of Smoke and Barley, but I just glanced at the agenda and thought it was 4:45, not 3, and I can't get in touch with him, so if he shows up at 4:45. Because I gave him a copy of the audit, and he's very concerned with the changes to the front of the store.
All right, we have,
Well,
we gotta, well, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I told several people, I didn't see any of them show up.
Mr. Buswell isn't here today, but I couldn't get in touch with him. I didn't see the agenda till today. Didn't know in advance of that the DOT was coming.
All right, Joyce, are you ready for us? Because we gotta move along, we've got a very tight schedule.
And if I don't
What would you like from
Agenda items,
not your budget?
we're gonna go into non-public right after the agenda items. Do you think we can get them, we can't get them done before
Bye,
4:30?
Mike. Bye, Mike.
Which is more important?
Getting through the legal items, and that's gonna, I've got the two final agreements that you need to look at. You need to make a couple of decisions on some things. I think that's really the priority. My agenda items can wait, my budget can wait.
Okay,
So if you want to go ahead and do the officers scheduled now
4:30.
at 4:30,
Well, why don't we have a non-public now?
or do the officers now?
We're not gonna have enough time, why don't we just get our minutes out of the way, do that kind of stuff?
No, we gotta do the non-public out of the way.
Gotta have a non-public.
She has to leave at 5:30. She's not gonna be here.
I don't think we have time in 15 minutes.
It's all legal.
It's just
It's all
too,
legal.
Go ahead, try it.
it's too,
Is there something you guys want to do? Because I'd really like to finish up this agreement. I just got it from Scott, and I'm just double checking it and making sure it's okay for the board.
we're not gonna have time before 5:30 with the offices.
That's it, right. I'll just stay. That's fine. I'll only be missing the spaghetti supper part.
She has an event with
Too
her
many
son
cards.
tonight.
It's all home day at the
weeks.
school.
The open house starts at 6, so as long as I can get here by 6.
Where's that, at the school?
Yep.
I don't know why they do
And
that.
our program starts at 7, so that's fine.
All right, so, well, we'll do the minutes and agenda items now, and then we'll go right into non-public after the police leave, and then we'll get you out of here.
Okay.
All right, is that okay?
Yeah.
Because it's just two legal,
I thought we were leaving too.
no, we've got a swearing in to do.
What time
Yeah,
is
but
the
that's
swearing
after
in?
the police leave.
Right,
Yeah,
yeah,
well, not the swearing.
do we have a lot of reports from selectmen? I mean,
I have little stuff.
No.
okay,
So we're not going into non-public?
we'll wait.
There's no way we could get done what we'd have to do in 15 minutes.
Okay.
And on one of them, I'm just double checking.
All right, we'll go into the
Start reading through the envelope.
minutes.
Everybody's had an opportunity to read.
We have 3 sets of minutes, right?
One.
September 12th, right?
I make a motion, we bring the minutes of September 12th to the floor for discussion.
Second.
Aye.
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 You.
Fifth bullet, I guess, at 2:50 PM. Go down to the very last sentence in that paragraph, and it's a roll cal. I'm sure there's an extra L involved there.
Go ahead. Okay.
Did you attend the sewer commission meeting Tuesday?
No, I didn't get to go. I had something else that I couldn't get out of.
Oh, I thought it was you and Pat that agreed to go.
No, we did, but I didn't get to go. She said that night. Well, the next meeting, I'll call Johanna and get on the schedule.
Mother's great. That mother's just great. She brought me the shirt.
Joyce, did you notify Dennis about putting up the no parking sign at Mechanic Street in that space?
Yes, I did, and he said he was going to go talk to you. They'd striped it. He was also supposed to put up a no parking sign,
Yeah,
and
I thought he was here when we talked about that.
that's what I was trying to remember.
And
He
he
was.
said he would do it, but he said, he wants to know, invest in the sign and stuff, but it's gotta be enforced. He
We
said
told him to
that's-
put the sign up.
Yeah, that's right, and the chief was sitting here too, so he's supposed to put the sign up.
I don't know whether it's been done or not, but I know he's aware of it. Thank you.
Dennis is off tomorrow, so I'll tell him on Monday. That's what you're supposed to do. She's telling me.
No, I'm good.
All right, where are we?
Do you guys need a drink?
Yep. Where are we? Where are we?
We're just reviewing the minutes.
What were you talking about, Dennis? What?
Oh, they asked whether or not Dennis was aware that we wanted to put signs on. He was here when we were talking about it.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Because that discussion isn't in here.
Right.
Page 3, first paragraph, first sentence, toward the end of it, preparation F9R. I think the 9 should be an O.
What's that third paragraph?
Third paragraph on page 3.
Yeah.
Starts at 3:55 PM. We'll drop down a couple of lines. The preparation, I'm not sure what that would sound like if you pronounced it, but,
Preparation for,
or niner.
I think that's 4.
Yeah, it should be an O instead of a 9. Don't be finger scouting.
It's understandable, Catherine, with all you have to type.
and Catherine, there was one on the very front page. You were busy. That Joe brought up. On the very front page where it says 2:50 PM, about halfway in the middle. If you go down 3 lines, at the end of that sentence, a roll call should be an L, 2 L's. Joe brought it up.
Any more questions, concerns, or additions?
Yeah, I've got a thing here, I think, but this is not a spelling issue or anything like that, because on page 3 at 3:55, we went into non-public session for consideration of matters in preparation for Niner and the carrying out of emergency functions.
I as emergency functions. It should
Yes,
just
when
end
you go
as,
down at 5:20, we resumed, and you wanted to seal the minutes of the non-public session as they pertain to legal matters. Now, we didn't go into the non-public session for legal matters. How could we do that?
We did discuss legal matters.
I'm sure we did, but what about the public safety stuff?
it should have, at
I'm just curious.
355, it should have been 91A, I and legal.
I and legal.
Because down on the bottom, it says, "and legal issues," seconded by Selectman Plesner.
Okay, I missed the legal issues.
See on the second paragraph?
Yeah, I do.
And then we sealed the minutes of the non-public as it pertained to legal until the matter's resolved, and it should be here as, the public safety should be permanently.
Because this would indicate that those are a public record if they weren't sealed officially.
Right.
Yes, Joe, you're right. But could you double-check the tape and make sure that we said that,
I will do that.
that seal the minutes of the non-public as it pertained to legal until the matters are resolved, and the public safety issue should be permanently? Okay.
Thank you, Catherine.
Make a motion, we accept the minutes of 9:12 as corrected.
Second?
All those in favor?
Yes.
Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Okay. All right,
Saw another one.
Catherine, you have something to discuss, so why don't you go ahead and, while we're waiting for the police.
Garbage,
Yay, my favorite subject.
not mine,
Trash.
not mine. It's
Tilton
garbage.
trash, or?
Stinky, smelly garbage. All right, today was West Side's first day of compliance with pay-as-you-throw. And in front of Head First Hair Salon, there is a pile of white bags. They don't belong to Head First Salon. The tenant upstairs has denied ownership. Now, they're sitting there. I can't declare them a public nuisance until the bag is ripped open or something. Okay? They're not on private property. I mean, so, it's an interesting situation. Trash was deposited in front of the jewelry store at 281 Main Street. Wasn't picked up in green bags. It was stickered by Casella. Someone picked it up, removed it from the public way, and put it in somebody's recycle bin. So it's, not in a place where I can declare it a public nuisance.
Right.
So I can't touch that. I've talked with Dennis about, what are we going to do with this? I mean, we can't start going around and picking up garbage all over town because it defeats the whole purpose.
That's right.
But we've got a pile of garbage in front of Head First that no one's claiming ownership of.
And you can't
No
go in
one,
it?
not until it's, like I said, it's got to be ripped open. Garbage in a bag is not a public nuisance. It's not a public health nuisance.
But
It's littering.
Against our ordinance, it is.
It's littering.
Okay.
But for it to become a public health nuisance, like I said, it's got to be ripped open, so I suppose I could.
So if
gotta be ripped
it
open.
was casually ripped open this evening, you could check it tomorrow? Just as a,
If
for
animals
instance.
got in it and such.
Yeah,
Right.
if I,
something was to happen.
if it
If
was
something
now
was to happen, an animal
spewing out
or-
to the bags where it's going to draw insects and rodents, yes, now it's a public health nuisance because of those reasons. I'll pick it up, take it to the town garage, go through it, deposit it, and then we're gonna have to start fining people at some point. I've got the apartment numbers for 281 Main Street, and we'll send out notices to those tenants, letting them know what the policy is, and that, if it continues, they will be fined. But
And the letter will instruct them as to what the fines are and
Yeah,
Lettering,
oh, yeah.
what is lettering? $250?
So,
two.
but look, we have officers here. Officers, so, join in the conversation.
Oh.
Garbage on Main Street is the
We're talking about
conversation.
Tilton trash.
What's a lettering fine?
At one,
It's going to lure you in quietly.
I am.
Well, not quietly, but lure you.
First day of pay as you throw on the west side where people have to be in compliant. And of course, there are some of them are not. There's a pile of trash, or at least it was reported to me at 2 o'clock in front of Head First Hair Salon. White bags, I guess there's at least a minimum of 10.
Those are the apartments upstairs.
The person in the hair salon contacted them and they unequivocally said, no, they're not ours.
So who's going to take the trash?
Well, I'm waiting to
Technically,
declare it a
it's-
public nuisance, and then I'll dig through the trash. But when is it littering?
That it's properly bagged up. It's
That's right.
technically, it really isn't properly bagged up because if it were properly bagged up, it'd be in a purple bag.
But it is contained.
It would be in a can.
So it is contained, so technically for me, I wouldn't call it littering.
The ordinance says it has to be in a can in a purple bag.
So you can write it for a town ordinance.
Right.
Are we on the record?
We are.
Yes. We're definitely on record.
All right. I've asked Dennis to help me in figuring out how we're going to deal with this, picking it up, bringing it down there, and digging through it. Park commissioners asked me to ask if a couple of more recycling bins could be at the 132 ball field just through the football season.
That's why not.
They pick up, the commissioners, we police the field ourselves and pick up bottles and cans and cardboard and put them in the
I
bin.
would vote yes on that. I do believe, do you need a motion for that or just an okay?
Okay.
A consensus is fine, and then
I
Joyce
think
can
we
let
have
Dennis
a
know.
consensus.
I'm fine with it, yep.
Yep.
I'm still gathering prices for the wetland delineation I talked about on Andrews Road. And even though, as I said in the email to you all, that there was a positive vote, there are other things that have to be done. That is a town easement that borders that, so it is something that we should be responsible for.
So there's an easement where that structure sits, or?
The wetlands, the parcel that boundaries it there is a conservation easement on it. It came from the Tanger Outlet Mall development. It's changed, is it Durock? Is it Durock that's the new?
Rock now, but the
Before it was,
deed for that is still in the previous owner's name.
is it Kingsbury?
Kingsbury or something like that.
So, I'm just updating you, it's, before we move forward on anything, there'll be more information to pass on to you.
I had not considered the fact that this was on private property. Then you're telling me that it's not actually it's on a conservation easement that the town
Is
has.
responsible for maintaining. So these people are violating our conservation easement by going into the wetlands.
Are these people on our conservation easement? Or is this on private?
Well, you don't really
don't
know
know
until
until
you
you
delineate it.
Yeah, that's why the delineation.
Delineation of the
Right.
wetlands, but that
Right.
doesn't tell us whether it's their property or...
The
property
delineation
belongs-
would, or a survey would. And that's part of what I'm doing, is there was a survey done in 1985 or 87, so I'm trying to find that.
Because in lieu of that, we're now talking about surveying the area. That may or may not really
Oh, the
yield.
wetland delineation would give us the boundary of our conservation easement.
I see, so, but our easement,
No, it would, absolutely would.
No, because the people that live along there could have wetlands on their property too. They have
The
nothing to do
wetland
with the
delineation is to delineate the boundary of that Well, we'll get into it. I just want you to know, when I saw the email, that it's not done from coming to the Board of Selectmen. There's more information, and I'll bring it to you next week.
Okay.
But I did find out, hey, I always wanted to know, but I didn't, where the rule was that says that the town should not do business or pay for anything on private property. We've all used it, but nobody knew where it came from.
Yep.
The New Hampshire State Constitution, second part. I used to know the article. I think it's 28.
There is case law
Do you have it memorized?
that was given to me by
Article 10?
the attorney that it derived from. In 1952, there was a case, Capps versus Jaffrey, when that first started.
Yeah.
It was not legal to use taxpayers'
Right.
dollars.
Right, and that comes from the...
Article 2, you say, Catherine?
It's in Part 2. It's in the second half of the New Hampshire State Constitution. I couldn't quite remember the article. I've got it flagged over there. And that's it, except I think we should put some money in the budget to clean our windows.
I agree.
I'll second that.
I'll
They're
third
You
that.
still see out them.
sort of.
Yeah, sort of. We can write in them, though.
They're pretty nasty. I think it's at a point that's going to start affecting the glass.
Don't we have a building maintenance line?
Yep,
Okay.
But I think we should, if you don't mind, I can call some people.
yep. We should get some estimates on it.
Yeah.
Okey-doke. So, next on our list, Chief is here. We have Chief, Lieutenant Martin, Corporals Matt Dawson, and Luke Penal. And you're going to come up and grab some more chairs and turn the mics around. Give us kind of an update on what's happening with the department, what's not happening with the department. If there's a period of time, particularly with the detective side of it, that we need to go into non-public, then we will do that. You're going to have to give us that cue to do it.
Come on up, gentlemen.
All right. Take that wire off then.
Fix that so that you guys can...
Just do that.
That's good, because that's what we're capturing.
Soaking up all the sun.
Is the camera on or off? Al, is the camera on or off?
That camera's on.
Okay, because it's
It's
not
off?
facing us, see? All right. We know you're busy. We do know that much. So,
You're on.
go ahead. Why don't you go first, and then let the others.
Use the microphone. You're very soft-spoken.
There we go. Just, just to give an update, and we can actually talk about a variety of stuff that not only is going on in Tilton, but in the news, and kind of answer questions about what we're doing to combat it. Some of the stuff that you're seeing on the news in other communities we're seeing here. Some of the stuff that we're seeing here, we started working on it several months and maybe even years ago, and it's just surfacing in other communities. So I'll kind of cover a little bit of that. Call-wise, our in-house system, we're at about 7,000 right now, which is kind of where we should be. Back in 2001, we averaged about 4,900 calls a year. Now we average about 10,000 in-house calls a year, about 10 and some change. And then there's a certain number of calls that Belknap Sheriff's picks up for us after 4 p.m. every day that some make it into our system, some don't. It depends on the nature of the call, if it requires a report or not. On an average, Belknap probably records another 2,000 calls a year that they're just, an erratic op, or, a dog in a vehicle that might not require a report. So some of those numbers don't make it into our IMC system, and that's inherent in having two dispatch options, one day and one night. And so some of the stuff I'll talk about in public, and then we can go into non, and detectives can kind of give you an update where they're at, because they have an extremely heavy caseload right now, but some of it would obviously have to be non. The types of increases or calls we're seeing that are an increase for us this year are all of the forgeries, frauds, check cases, that sort of thing. And a lot of it surrounds drugs. We, at least in New Hampshire law enforcement, with the increase in convenience store robberies and gas station robberies, that sort of thing, detectives can agree a lot of it eventually, if you look at the suspects, once we get them in custody, it all had some sort of drug connection to it. Either they're robbing to get money for drugs, or for a while there, we went through a stretch where they were actually going into Rite Aids and Walgreens, literally heading straight to the pharmacy counter with a gun and mask and going over the counter to get the drugs. Whatever they can do to get money for them, they're gonna, and that's going to increase our crime. If they don't get it by way of robbery, they're producing counterfeit checks. We recently picked up a pretty significant counterfeit check case. We had one, I think it was in 2011, that involved multiple states. I think this one, when we get done, will also involve multiple states. It's certainly all over the state of New Hampshire, and Matt can talk more about that. We do see a fair amount of sexual assaults this year, and we've had a slight increase with forcible rapes and forcible sodomy this year. Simple assaults, we started up the beginning of the first quarter, and right now we're about level. Thefts and related crimes, those are up. Burglary, we just recently started to see an increase last month in burglaries. Detectives picked up several cases between July and August that they're working on right now. And total crimes from the beginning of the year to date, we're up about 4%. One thing that doesn't really give a whole picture when we talk about crime or calls for service is the amount of hours that have to go into a call number. You know, a call number can be as simple as a lockout at the outlets, or it can be an investigation as large as the K Jewelers robbery with thousands of hours in it. So I think, you know, we may have 10,000 calls, and another community might have 10,000 calls, but we may have to put many more hours into our 10,000 because the more serious calls than the other community. I brought this is only 6 months of our caseload going to district court only, and then, this, again, it's only 6 months. You can kind of take a look at how busy the court system is at district court level. Hundreds of cases going through Franklin District Court. For us, we actually, for Franklin Court, we're the busiest agency that goes through the court as far as number of arraignments and trials.
What are the other communities that use Franklin Court? It's gotten so convoluted that...
Yeah, Boscawen, Franklin, Salisbury, Andover, Merrimack Sheriffs, State Police, Webster.
Does Northfield use Franklin?
Yeah.
They do?
Northfield, yeah.
So Northfield would be the largest community
They
that uses
split?
them?
Tilton.
No, I mean population-wise.
Franklin.
Then we beat out Franklin.
Oh, yeah. And then as far as grand jury indictments for this year, July, we had possession of oxycodone felony, possession of oxycodone felony ×3, conspiracy to commit sales of the Drug Control Act's oxycodone, and then sales again. So they were all drug sales cases in July. In August, felony thefts, sales of oxycodone and drug heroin, conspiracy to commit sales heroin, again, possession of heroin. This was some of the stuff, this is back in August, and recently you saw on the news some overdoses with heroin. Detectives are actually working on some of the dealers, putting the cases together that eventually we'll connect to some of those overdoses. They were already on our radar before the overdoses occurred, and when we get into Matt can talk about that more. Some sales of marijuana, more sales of heroin. We had some felony theft by deception in May. It would be,
Give him my check.
Yeah.
Give it to somebody else.
yeah.
Say it again?
Felony level theft by
My
deception.
checks. Wrote it out. Gave it to Matt to buy something.
Oh, so if I forged a check? And what
Well,
do you call it?
then you'd have a charge of forgery too, but, you know, if I convince you to buy something for $2,000 and you never get it, and
Oh.
it turns out you're the victim of a
Is that what
theft
that's
by
called?
deception, yeah.
Deception, that's interesting.
Other charges throughout the summer for felony indictments were burglary, again, more sales of oxycodone pills, forgery, theft by deception again, theft, felony sexual assault, sales of controlled substances, receiving stolen property, felony level, armed robbery, Class A felony, criminal threatening, and then more sales of oxycodone. So
We just got it all.
a little bit of everything there, and that's just that's from July to now. The majority of our work is drug-related, or it also involves theft and burglary. And so, right now,
Falls around drugs.
which also revolves around drugs. So right now, we take a real aggressive stance towards sales. If we don't, we're going to see an increase in overdoses. So we really have to get it off the street. We're also working close with the schools. We still meet with them once a month. The first Friday of every month we get together, and we talk about the drug cases that we're seeing, and we also try to get input from them, what they're seeing in the schools. Are we keeping drugs out of the schools? Is it working? And I think in the last few years we've made some huge increases, because any of the drug dealers that within, on a PIN-dot map, a mile of the schools have been arrested and are off in jail.
Do we
And
ever
the-
do assemblies?
Mhm.
With everybody, all the kids coming into a room?
We do, yeah,
Tell
and
them.
talk to them, yeah. Yeah, we did that last year. We talked about doing it again this year. And education's a huge part of this, not only for the students, but the parents too. And it,
Death into the situation?
yeah, oh yeah, to make them realize, how dangerous it is. And I think we all know somebody sitting around this table that's been hooked on either pills or heroin or something.
I'm a drug addict, sober today by the grace of God. But drugs are like the worst thing I can think of. They ruin more lives. Which leads me right back to the $1,000 drug investigation expense, or do we have to wait? They're not public, for me to pursue that.
Yeah, well, we will. So I think we can't ignore it. We try to be aggressive about it, but lately, we've been so busy that, my officers will say we've been just trying to be reactive lately. Never mind proactive. It's just been hard because the cases are coming in fast and furious. And that's some of the stuff that they can talk about and but we're also here to answer any questions you have about any types of crime, how the cases are going that we can talk about in public, and anything else you'd like to see.
When you guys do your assemblies with the school,
At the high school and
what do you do?
yeah.
Do you bring people in that actually have someone that's died from them and have them talk?
The union actually sponsored somebody to come in. His name was Todd Crandall. He's got books out. It's Addiction to Iron Man. So he's, basically turned his life around. His mother committed suicide. He had 3 DWIs. He was on all the drugs, the cocaine. He was actually drafted to be an NHL goaltender. So we brought the middle school over along with the high school students, because at that point in time, the middle school was really having a huge issue with the drug problem over there. And, Todd's been through it all. He's been in prison, been in jail, and just turned his life around. So we basically opened the floor up to him. He spoke to the entire students and staff over there, and then opened up question and answer and, all that. And then typically the first week of the school year, we hold an assembly where, the prosecutor goes in, we all go in, and we kind of do a PowerPoint presentation for the kids. The big thing the last couple of years has been sexting and, bullying, obviously, and things like that. So we kind of give them the rundown of, this is what could happen. We're not saying that it's gonna, but this is what could happen, all the way down. And, we've had some students, commit suicide and stuff like that,
It
basically.
would be nice to see, and I think that's what Al's getting at, is some
Is like a parent of
people,
these people.
people, parent or whatever, people that have been exposed or the victim of locally, to say, yeah, if you think that it's happening in Boston only, or if you think that it's happening in Manchester only, guess what?
Right.
Here it is, right here in Tilton, right now. This is where it's happening, and I think that's what you're getting at in speaking.
Well, you've had like, the 3 Molly deaths last week, the new drug Molly.
The what?
The Molly.
It's called Molly. It's like
MDMA.
ecstasy. It's pure ecstasy. It's a different form, it can come in different forms, capsules, But we were, as a department, we were purchasing Molly last year from people in our community. So it's not
It's not new to
something new
us.
to our community, and it's not new to us. It's been here, just people are now dying from it.
Right.
It basically increases your heart rate to the point where you basically explode your heart.
Right.
And, that was as close as, a 19-year-old female from Plymouth State College, which is, 20 minutes up the highway.
Right.
So,
But,
So if this drug has been around, why are people all of a sudden dying from it?
different potencies. It's not like a pharmaceutical type drug
It's
where
the-
you're getting the same dosage every time.
And it's the way they're taking them, too.
It's like heroin. I mean, the purity of heroin changes from
Cocaine.
package
Year
to
to year.
package. You don't know.
Sometimes you're going to cut it, you're going to cut up a gram to make more money on it. So
Oh, I see. So this is the person who makes it,
whoever's
Right.
making it is
Like
making
the,
it.
Like anything with time.
like the
it
crack
becomes more
stuff, people
popular.
make it and it's different
Right.
formulas and recipes and.
And the more
So
hands you get
why
into
now
making
all of a sudden, because I just looked it up, why now all of a sudden it says widely known as ecstasy, which I'm familiar with that. It sounds like it's the same drug.
It's not.
It's not.
You know, the makers of
Everything you
it
read on
now,
the computer.
they all want to make the best, and so they increase it a little bit each time. Oh, I got the best, so I'm going to buy the best. And that's what starts to happen.
Not only that, but you corner the market that way, and then you cut it when you're the only supplier,
Yeah.
and you control the whole supply, you can adjust the purity accordingly, because you're the only game in town.
Or people will buy your certain stamp, it's got the baggies have a certain stamp on it, and hey, I only want the double X stamp. I'm not
'Cause
gonna
this
buy
is the
yours
good.
'cause this is supposed to be the best.
Supposed to be extra special, yeah.
Well, and with the Molly, it could be a mixture of MDMA and crystal methamphetamine, or MDMA and cocaine. It all depends on what they're mixing it with, too. So, they may be getting, the same drug up there that they're saying is Molly, and then they go to a place like New York City or Boston, and they go to a club, and they're thinking that they're getting the same thing that they're getting up there, and it's totally different. And
Yep.
unfortunately, it's a tragic loss for a 19-year-old student.
Yep.
And we have that in our town.
Yes. Sure do.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's in our school.
It could be in our school, but I know we've been
Joe.
buying it here, on Main Street.
So, the one thing that jumps out here is theft, drugs, deferred sentence. Now, are these people getting diverted into drug rehabilitation? Are they getting if you do it next time, and just sent back home? That's not an answer at all.
I agree.
I'm not 100% sure, but sometimes they have deferred sentence hearings to ensure and to make sure that you followed whatever type of probationary status that you got, like if you had to attend
Meetings.
a rehab class
Yep.
and this and that.
Yep.
I'm not 100% sure, but
We all know that we've seen the same people on the street for years now that have committed one after another that have been sent away, and the court systems let them back out on the street, and they get right back in there dealing, and we send them back up, and 3 months, 6 months, whatever, they're back out again. We all know at least 5 of them that we can name off right here and now that walk the streets of Main Street.
I think the other thing with the deferred sentence stuff, it could be, say you're between the ages of 17 and 20 and you don't have a record.
Right.
Are we going to put you in jail for a year? No, it's not going to happen.
Right.
Then you're going to hear.
Don't have the resources, don't have the beds.
So exactly, but if you have a bag of marijuana, is it realistic that we're going to send you away for a year just because it's a Class A misdemeanor? It's not realistic. You might get 30 days and get the rest of the time deferred. So then you have the deferred sentence hearing to say, hey, we have to pull their criminal history, see if they've been arrested since.
So this deferred, all these deferreds may have included a sentence or drug diversion.
Correct.
Mandatory AA or whatever. Yeah, all right, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're asking them to stiffen up the penalties with sales, obviously. I know that detectives have had 2 or 3 sales cases this year where they're out on bail continuing to sell. In one case, it was heroin, and that suspect may end up being charged somehow related to an overdose. And, that's the frustration, I think, for these guys.
Right.
But we're trying to, bring that up at the chief's level and see if we can help the detectives, talk to the courts and say, look, if you give someone 6 months for sales of heroin, they get out and start selling it again, and then an 18-year-old kid in Tilton dies, we have a problem with that.
Right.
That's the message we want to send loud and clear to the courts.
Arresting them for a slap and them getting a slap on the wrist doesn't solve our problem. It's a waste of our resources. At least you've identified them, but you've identified them now.
Right.
You know who they are.
It just makes them smarter once they get arrested.
But what about the education
More
also
cautious.
of our young people? I saw a program where they were showing a brain scan of an 18-year-old girl. And it had huge black holes in this brain scan because she does these homemade in the backyard drugs.
Yeah.
And it's killing her brain cells.
Sure.
And the doctor stood there and made the statement that by the time this young lady is 30, she will have Alzheimer's.
Gosh.
So bad that she will never see the rest of her life. And she says, 30, that's a long ways away.
Right. It's not that far.
It's like they don't care.
It's not that far. I mean,
But how do we tell them that, no, we're not lying to you, these are serious things, it does do damage?
well,
They think we're lying.
you look at the chill spice and all the spices.
Yeah.
We have establishments in town that are selling it. They sell it as potpourri or, something else. However, it's not illegal to sell because the DEA hasn't put it on the list because we're catching up. But all of these kids are smoking it, and it's probably 10, 15 times worse than marijuana.
What it is it's synthetic marijuana, basically. And so it's made by a chemist, and it's sold under incense. So, they're all flavored like watermelon and cherry and all those type of things. So you get it, it looks kind of a little bit like the shake from marijuana. It's not the same consistency, and you smoke it exactly the same way. We've had incidents where it falls under the inhaling toxic vapors for effect statute, which is the same as if you huff paint or smoking this for effect.
Which is only a violation. It's like getting a speeding ticket.
Unfortunately, it doesn't carry much of a
Right.
So that's not illegal?
No. So, depends what form it is. What they do, once the DEA comes out with that list saying, yep, this type is illegal, then they just spray it with add another chemical to it. They basically put it in a paint sprayer, lay it out on the floor of a garage, and whoosh, spray it. And now you have a new chemical in it, and now that's not illegal because that chemical's not on the list. So we're playing catch up to it. But like I said, we have stores in town that sell it, so.
We're working aggressively to...
I thought they took that off.
There are a number
They
of the
did.
same names.
And so they put it back on?
Well, they've created some new substances that aren't on it. We did the original, what was it,
K2.
K2 Spice. We got them to put an emergency one-year ban on it, and that's when we pulled it off the shelves of some of our stores. And we actually got the okay from the DEA, and detectives went and did it that day.
Yeah, he brought it up to us. He said, here you go, I heard this was no good, I don't want to sell it anymore.
I just looked it up online. Are you looking where to buy the highest quality herbal incense, Keratum, and do not contain any chemicals? They will not show up on a drug test.
Yeah.
Right?
That's why a lot of people do it. There's, I keep in touch with some of my friends in the military and stuff like that, and most of them are higher up now. And a lot of soldiers, especially, or people, and they take it because they get drug tests. So then you obviously have the people that are out that may be on good behavior on a deferred sentence thing.
On diversion.
This is the new flair that they're using.
This one, the best spice incense you can buy online. I got blazed when I tried this stuff, and I passed my drug test for probation 2 days after hitting it.
Right.
Really cooled it. This is unbelievable.
So a lot of these drug-related cases are very labor-intensive.
Very.
The frauds, they take days to follow up on the burglaries, take days, weeks.
Yep.
So we have 2 detectives, they're inundated. We have a light patrol staff, so we're more reactive. We can't be proactive as much. So without being proactive, you're going to get more burglaries and robberies because they don't see us out there as much. And that, again, goes back onto the detectives because it increases their workload.
How effective are you with traffic violations and, being reactive in that, or proactive in that?
I think traffic's the least of things that are happening.
Right.
Well, just
On the ladder.
Yeah, just because, Luke and I discussed it the other night. Basically, let's say, you see all the theft charges on there. Let's say we get called to Walmart for a shoplifter. Whether if they're in custody, I'll give you an in custody example and then one that we have to actually work on. So, patrol gets called to a shoplifter in custody. That means that the Walmart loss prevention people actually stop these people outside on the sidewalk and say, hey, we just saw you put that in your back pocket. Do you mind coming back inside? They come back inside, they call us, we go up there. So basically, kind of that case is easier, but the officer goes up, takes custody of the person, of the item, brings it back, logs the evidence, does the booking process, gives them a court date. On a case where basically they're handing us the bad guy, it's about 4 hours by the time you're all said and done with your reports, with the booking, and that's before you go to court. So you're at 4 hours right there for the officer on a case that they don't have to even look at. Then you have hey, we got the license plate, this is their description, so then we got to run the plate, find the person, get them to come in and talk, either that, pull a DMV photo, all those kinds of things. Now you're talking 6 to 7 hours. So that's one whole shift that the officer could work on one case. Like I said, on an average...
For stealing shampoo.
Correct. So on an average day, or an average week, until an average week, we respond to 200 to 300 calls, and that's if it's logged. There's calls that, like the chief said, go through Belknap County, so guys may not put that call in the system. There are some towns that, let's say, you do stop a car for speed, he's got an electronic bench warrant, he's got a speeding ticket, his license is suspended because he didn't pay the ticket, and his registrations are also suspended. So that's actually 4 offenses. There's some towns that pull 4 numbers for that. We don't, we pull 1. So that's where you could go to another town and they'll say, we handled 18,000 calls last year. How did you guys only handle 10,000 or 12,000? Well, because we don't pull a number for
every offense.
Hey, somebody pulled in the parking lot and said, hey, how do I get to the Tanger outlets? That would be a call in another agency, where here it may not be. So you're looking, so in between 200 and 300 calls a week, so you're looking at 16 calls a shift. So how is one guy, in an 8-hour shift going to handle that and all the other calls that are coming in? They may not be reportable calls that he's going to, but he still has to go there. He still has to listen to the person, tell them their side of the story, determine whether or not a crime's been committed or if it's civil. So, I mean...
We have 2 officers working detail up at Sherwood Drive. You would think that would be a deterrent, but we've been to Walmart every day this week for shoplifting.
They're stopping them.
How bad it's...
They're stopping them driving out.
The detail guy is?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Numbers coming out to the guys on...
They got one today.
They drive
The
past
detail.
them to go to Walmart, they go rip Walmart off, and then they realize they gotta go back past the police. But they don't care.
Drugs will make you do strange things.
And so, and this is what's tying up all of the resources that we have in our department.
Absolutely.
Okay. That's just overwhelming.
Yeah. But,
So what do you think? Why? Why is there such a dramatic increase? I mean, the economy really isn't that bad. I can tell you right now, a whole handful of people hiring. And
People gotta be, I think, number one, the answer to that is people gotta be willing to work.
Yeah.
You know, and don't put yourself on a pedestal to be able to take a job is a job. But I think, like, from a patrol standpoint, you know, I work my shifts every week, and I can't think of another time in my career that we have had this many thefts that are just astronomical, between the thefts that are coming out of our businesses, you know, items that are being sold to other people that are stolen, and then these people come to us, say, hey, I heard this subject sold something to this, it was mine, he took it out of my house. We have a lot of businesses in town that are taking, like, pawn gold and stuff like that, a few of which are right down here. And, you got these people coming in saying their jewelry's been stolen, they believe this is where it went. So it's a tangled web that's being woven, as far as the amount of thefts and stuff is drastically taking the officers' times up. And, it's not like, I can't tell my guy, hey, just get the basics and send it to detectives, because their caseload is already so high that officers are having to take on those higher cases and be able to work it. So you have officers that are really, taking their time, calling other agencies, trying to get their reports, trying to coordinate maybe even a multi-jurisdictional or county-wide crime where someone's, committing crimes in multiple towns that's related. And then you also have to hope that that other officer that's the investigating officer is on the same shift as you. So it can be very difficult, and that does drag out sometimes on cases and stuff.
So an eye-opener, if everybody was listening out there, your department isn't too big. In fact, maybe too small.
this town can't afford.
I'm not saying, I'm
Well,
not just
there's
saying.
the other side of it.
Can't afford.
I'm just giving an
That is the other
example of what's
side of
going
it. It's a
on
huge
in
predicament.
town.
It is, and you guys would know better than I, because you guys have been here longer, but I know that there was a study done a few years ago that said that we were substantially low in numbers, and we haven't seen an increase back that. We've been playing catch-up for the last few years. So, I mean, but that's a decision for people that are much higher on the scale than you guys.
Don't say they get paid the better bucks.
Let's ask you this. So, let's say Tanger Outlets calls us over there for any type of theft or anything like that. We're saying we need more people. You guys see the other side of it and say, you know what, we can't afford it, we can't do this. So what do we tell the Tanger Outlets who are paying $650,000 a year in taxes to the town?
And there's the other side of it.
Move.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah.
You let him in.
I didn't let him.
No, Dad let him in.
Dad let him in.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah, they do pay taxes,
How could you see
too.
this coming?
it's a catch.
But
It's a catch-22.
There was a conversation.
What do you tell them?
It is
What do you
catch-
tell
it-
What do you tell Walmart, who's now building a super Walmart? You think our crime's going to go down because we have a super Walmart? I don't
Probably
think
not.
so.
It's gonna be worse, because there's gonna be there's gonna be more exits.
We have a
Very
Kohl's.
difficult.
We don't have Shaw's anymore, but
Something will go in that building eventually.
yeah, maybe new police
Best Buy or
department.
A new police
But my
department.
point is,
A life safety building?
my
Oh,
point
shoot
is
me.
that
No, he said
People always
police
say-
department.
people always say that we're overstaffed, we have too many people, and the bare fact is, we're sliding on the minimum. with the work you guys have to do.
The people that say that, I mean, I know the chief would probably invite it. Why don't they come and
Ride with us. Yeah.
come and hang out for a day?
It's
There's not a day that
eye-opening.
goes by. I mean, we were all off duty the other night. I know, I'm pretty sure, yeah, Luke was off, I was off. We got called to a girl with a gun to her head.
Suicidal.
On the outside of town, suicidal subject.
Luckily, a bunch
So
of
what
us
do I
were
do?
here
Okay,
off
you know
duty.
what? I'm off the clock, I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. You know, so, I mean, what do we do? Send one guy over there? It's not gonna happen. You know, we call the other agencies, okay, so Northfield's gonna come. So they're coming from further distance than we're gonna go. So what do we do? You know what I mean? So, I think for the types of calls that we're handling and going to, you know, we're not back in the early days where, you know, we might be going to a drunk guy on Main Street call. The calls are more severe.
The drunk guy with a baseball bat.
You know, it's
You guys are more like,
We're
city.
becoming less civilized.
basically.
we're a city, not a town.
At times, it feels that way.
I think the other big thing too are the people that say that, you know, I'm a firm believer, you know, if you want to come up with an educated guess, that's great, but make sure you do your homework. So if the person that's saying, well, we're too big or something like that, what qualifies you to make that decision other than the fact that you're 40 years old, you have all this life experience? That's when you have to put your faith in the professionals that you guys have shown confidence in, that you guys have hired, and let them make the educated decision. I'm not going to go to the doctor's office down over here on Main Street and tell them, hey, I think you have too many nurses and secretaries, because I don't know what they do and I don't know what goes on. So that's when people have to put a little more faith in the system and a little less in their ego.
They're unaware. I think this process that we're having right here is enlightening for the handful of people that'll be watching this. One of the most frequently asked questions that I hear is, other than recycling, is the police department, isn't our police department too big? However, once I explain the call numbers and the crime statistics in general, because I'm not well-versed enough to speak to specifics, invariably, I've never had anybody continue to say the police department's too big. Can we afford it? Yes, but is it too big? No.
Right.
Well, I've started telling people when they say, well, can we really afford it? I said, can we afford not to have it?
When they start stealing stuff out of your house and your business, then it becomes more than a statistic.
Well, that's what I brought up, you know, last week when I talked to you guys. You know, it's until it happens to one of you people, you know, I mean, Al's been affected by the epidemic, you know. Everybody here knows somebody or has been involved with either the drug epidemic or, you know, a burglar or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. And once it happens to you, I mean, there's been some people in town who it did happen to, and they were on the phone every day. Hey, what's going on with my case? Hey, what's going on?
Right.
You know what? I got 10 other cases right now. I mean, right now, Nate checked his cases the other day, and he's at 49 open cases. So where do you prioritize it? And then after we met with you guys on Thursday, we had a $100,000 burglary on Friday.
Right.
So where do you, I mean, everybody jumps and juggles after that.
Is it the robbery or the burglary that you put at the top? And
Which one? I mean, exactly, which one do you put? Which one is the
Right.
priority? Which one is, you know?
Everybody wants their drive-through justice because they see on TV it's solved in 45 minutes.
Right.
If that was our closure rate, we'd solve 8 cases a day.
But the fact of the matter is, the 3,600 residents that make up this town cannot continue to afford the rate our police department grows. And unfortunately, proportionally, it is not offset by the taxes we receive from Exit 20. If it were, that would be great. Because quite frankly, what we're talking about, you know, those 3,600 people are not all here. We have a transient population that's huge.
Absolutely.
And the residents, it's not their fault, it's Exit 20.
Right.
But we can't say, okay, look, you know, 80% of this is your fault, so you're going to pay
6 months.
80% of the cost for PD. It would be nice, but we can't do that.
Even though those
The
businesses...
fact of the matter is, those 3,600 people can't continue to pay out of
They
their
pay like
tax dollars.
46% of the taxes. I asked Tim.
So,
But the thing is that
Who does? The commercial?
The residents.
The residents pay 40 to 6.
We pay, as a
About
resident,
50/50. Varies, goes back and forth.
well, the last time I talked to them, they pay half the taxes in town, but that still leaves almost $1 million for this 3,600 people to pick up. And out of those 3,600 people, we've got, well, I won't mention names or even locations, but people who basically are cat food eaters.
I know.
And we take houses away because they can't pay their taxes, and it just kills me.
I know.
And I agree
What
with
do you
that.
do?
I agree with
I
that.
know,
Sympathize
I know.
with it.
When did
But in the second note, we allow, 2 new buildings to go in, out behind Pascash, which was supposed to be a 55 and older community, which wasn't going to tax us at all. Well, guess what? You had every resource you could have, and then some, there yesterday because a 2.5-year-old child was missing.
Right. Hiding under the picnic table or something?
Potentially. But it's
Hey, you don't know that
it's
when
You
you
don't
get the
know when you
call.
go.
There was a day
It's
when
gonna
you would
tax
see
us.
the state police on Route 3, and they'd be stopping cars for traffic violations and whatnot. When did that stop?
When the
Because it
pop-
really essentially has stopped.
When number
I can go
one,
up and down 93 every day, and I might not see a trooper coming from Concord.
Sometimes you might
I
see
can tell
6.
you that, so.
I can tell you back when I worked evenings, the one trooper that might be on, because they were low on staff and they needed to fill their numbers, but they were on a freeze or for whatever reason they weren't staffing, the one trooper was either down at the Hooksett Toll or he's at the junction of 89 and 93, because he goes all the way to Lebanon and all the way to Tilton and all the way to Hooksett Toll. And that was his area. And the one guy. So it may take him a little while for a rollover accident up at, exit 19, but
Because that's part of the problem. I mean, it is. We're patrolling a state highway. It's not our highway.
But you gotta go
It's
up
a
that
state
highway.
highway. So we're patrolling it.
Are
we're
you talking
never
about
on,
Route 3 or are you talking about 93?
Talking about Route 3.
because we're never
And
on
I
90.
see you guys out there doing your testing occasionally. I mean, I don't know what it is about in front of my place, but my living room gets lit up blue a lot. And I always look at, what's going on? But the point is, I mean, we're doing that work.
Well,
And it's a small portion of what I just looked through.
we're
It is,
understaffed,
but-
they're understaffed, so where do they pick and choose? They make most of their money writing a ticket on the highway.
Right, but it's still an unfunded mandate. They walk away from their responsibilities all the time, legislative representative. They do, the Department of Safety, New Hampshire DOT, well, the list goes on and on. But I'm deviating. What is your conviction rate? You've got, was it 10,000 calls per year? How many convictions
Average.
do we average in a year?
I tell you in July it goes way up.
Yeah.
Got nothing for it. I won't, we'll come back to that later.
What's the matter with July? I like that month.
What do we do in grade schools? By the time they get to middle school, they've been exposed to drugs and drug users, and they're comfortable with it, kinda.
Luke can answer
I
that.
started out with my nephews at the age of 4. Don't smoke cigarettes, don't do drugs, go to college. And now they're 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever it is, and it's like, what are the 3 rules? Don't do drugs, don't smoke cigarettes, go to college. I know that not everybody gets that input at home, but in the schools, grade school, before they get exposed to marijuana, PCP, MDA, cocaine, any of those different drugs, what do we do to help put that idea in their head, don't do drugs?
Well, they're exposed to the marijuana more than likely at home already.
Yeah.
Because what I do in my own house is up to me. So when we go there and tell them those types of things, they're thinking in their head, my parents have these guys baffled. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but Luke can address this.
I know,
mean, I can
obviously
stay.
being a former SRO and stuff like that, you're very much involved at the middle school and the high school with, drug awareness and stuff like that. We, try to really combat those issues by meeting with the middle school kids, taking part in the DARE program. And the high school, I know as SRO, every year you touch base with all the freshmen in the health classes, because it's a requirement they have to take. And you get out there to basically every new student that comes in, talking to them in depth about drugs, domestic violence, sexual, conduct and what the parameters are there, sexting, and a lot of that stuff. I can't answer for what happens prior to that in the grammar schools, because those are all in Northfield, but I do believe they have a couple DARE officers that go into the schools and run that program to bring kids aware of the dangers that are out there.
Because it would seem like getting them before they were exposed heavily, and I know that the pot at home and watching mom and dad get high,
The other
for the
tough
first
thing,
6,
too,
7 years.
is you also have a lot of parents who may not be educated about these things and may not, there's kind of like, I think it's a mixed batch between people who don't want their kids approached about these things because they don't want their kids knowing about them. And that's kind of like the naive way of being there as opposed to sitting down and talking with your kids. But there are a lot of people that just aren't educated about those things. I know my parents, and growing up, I wasn't educated about drugs and all that stuff till I joined law enforcement. And so, you can offer these programs. I know the high school has done things. We're offering education for parents and stuff like that. But unfortunately, a lot of people are too egotistical to go to one of those to say, hey, I need help. I need to know about these type of things. And that's when we try to counsel people as much as we can in our duties. It's not just going to place, arrest people, bring them back, doing the paperwork. We try to get in as much as we can when we have the time to get into the neighborhoods, make those public contacts, and really spread the knowledge that we have from our training experiences and stuff like that. And unfortunately, we see people at their worst, primarily most of the time, and we can really be an advocate for things that people need to talk to their children about.
And I know Dickie does a program like in the preschools and stuff, but his feedback has been, well, aren't you kind of teaching my kid about that? So now they're kind of curious, so they want to try it. So it's one of those catch-22s.
You have to have the support at home. What is your average convictions in a year?
Well, I don't have exact numbers. I'd say they're higher than average. I mean, the majority of our cases throughout the year, felony cases, do get solved. If they don't get solved in that calendar year, the year they were committed, they get solved eventually. Very few felony cases that I know of, Matt, go unsolved. But the conviction rate on shoplifters is 100%, unless or close to it, because we're going to be there, we're going to get them. It's what the penalty is after that.
Most of them do a plea agreement and plead guilty to it.
It's the time getting there, though.
If we respond to Walmart where they have the stuff, the store isn't out anything. So what is a proper plea agreement for a store that's not out any property?
What, don't come back in my store again?
And they're issued a paper saying, don't come in my store again.
Right.
What's the penalty? What do you think is a fair penalty for a shoplifter?
I kind of like to chop off the hand thing.
That's not going to fly.
Saudi Arabia.
That's not going to fly.
Hammurabi's law is no longer...
I don't like that.
You know what I mean? So
They get deferred sentences. They don't even go to jail, never mind cut off body parts.
Some of that has to do also, typically, a type of shoplifting is going to be charged as a Class B misdemeanor, which can't even carry any jail time.
Right, it's going to be a
fine
fine. They're stealing because they can't pay the fine, so what are we going to do with the fine? We're going to suspend the fine. So basically, you got caught stealing, you are now going to plead guilty to being a thief, but you're not going to get a fine, and you're not going to go to jail because you can't.
Probation.
By law. So you're going to get a deferred sentence for a $500 fine, and if you get caught again, now you're going to owe $500 that you're never going to pay.
And then you get put on a payment plan, and the courts have to entertain it. I don't have a job, I'm on Social Security, I'm disabled, all the excuse that people come up with, and they're paying $10 a month for the next.
Then if they don't pay it, they come in, and he says,
there's more
can't pay it.
time.
then-
Right.
It's not a jailable offense.
Right.
So if they know they can't go to jail, what's going to happen to them?
I'm trying to get a handle on, you say you're averaging 10,000 calls per year, so I'm trying to get a handle on how many of those lead to, some kind of,
Arrests.
arrest or guilty, conviction. How many of those, I know I've contributed to a couple of calls in the past week.
Yep.
That create paperwork, but no action should be generated.
There
You
may
see what I'm
not be
saying?
any action, but we're going to go back to your trash thing on Main Street down there. So now you're going to call us and say, hey, I have a trash complaint, can you guys go down and investigate it? So now somebody's got to pick up all the trash to go through it, or we're going to go through it right there on the side of the road, right? So we're going to pick through the 10 bags of trash, which is going to take some time to try to find an ID or a bill or a letter or something like that.
Some identifying.
Right, but nevertheless, I know, it's like I had a call yesterday that was paperwork and...
Right, but it also could be...
But,
just like
so,
Brian
some of these, that's what I'm trying to figure out, is the percentages here. You know, how many of these calls is no action taken? You've got paperwork to do, which is certainly time, and that's valuable, but, you know, nobody's going to court, there's, you know, nobody's issued a, violation, citation, a ticket that you're in trouble, well, I don't know what you call it.
If you were to figure 70% are no action call, that other 30% is accumulating a lot of that time.
Well, some of this stuff is huge in that, I mean, it's huge.
Weeks investigations. You got to call the bank to get records. You got to, for closed, canceled checks, copies of those. He may have to do search warrants for phone records.
And you can't just call the bank and say, hey, can you send me that? You actually have to type them a letter, send it out. They get X amount of days.
So to put an accurate number on it is almost near impossible.
Well, yeah, I would say if he's telling you that 30% of that is chargeable offenses, I'd say it's got to be higher than 30%.
It probably is. I'm just.
So those are just dart figures?
Yeah, he's just...
So what's the answer to this? I see statistics, and I see programs, and I see we're trying to run from fire to fire, but how do we stem the tide? It seems like it's only going to get worse.
Well, I'd say, so from now on, every dog complaint that we get called to where there's a dog in a car with the windows up or down, do we respond to that or do we not?
Yes.
Don't respond to the dogs walking
The
on the
dog
golf
thing
course.
is the wrong thing to bring up here.
Golf course.
I hear you.
All I'm saying is, do we or don't we? And at what point do we say no? We don't. But so
I
now-
hear you loud and clear.
So that takes our time. Do we go? Absolutely. They're not humans, but,
They are.
Hey, dogs are people too.
Excuse me.
Hats dogs are anyway.
But don't you think part of the problem is the fact that all the people that are doing illegal things and criminal things, the punishment really is not severe enough
Doesn't fit
to
the
where
crime.
they know they can plead guilty or, complain a little bit, and they turn them back out to do the same thing over and over again.
They're going to
There's no real justice for what you're doing wrong.
Right. I agree.
And they get away with it all the time.
So then we go to the state legislature, right? Because the state legislature is our governing body here in the state. Does the state legislature, have they researched this at all? Is this something that's on their radar? Mr. Raymond, you're a legislator. Have you heard any initiatives to stem this? And we can't be the only ones. Now, we've got this crossroads thing, 93, Route 3, but Keene, Salem, Portsmouth, they've got to have these same problems in spades.
Yeah, sure.
All right, that's where the money, it seems like they must be whining about it. How come nothing's being done?
Do you?
I don't.
You do? No? Okay.
Money.
Almost comes on the God Almighty dollar.
I'm just wondering if eventually we do, because we need to move this along.
Right,
because
right.
We've got
Forcing
a,
them to justice
Joyce
system,
really needs to get out of here, and we've got two things that we have to...
Yeah, but we've got the biggest prison population in the world right now. Not New Hampshire or
Unless
Tilton
someone has this
necessarily,
question
and
about
it's
a
not working.
Case we're
Well, they're-
working
they're-
on.
Putting them in jail keeps them off the street until they're not in jail anymore, and they're right back at it.
So Joe's first question was, how do we fix this? I mean, it's a very delicate balance between giving you the people and the resources to do what you need to do, and be able to toe the line on the taxpayers to be able to afford what they can afford. And that's really a delicate balance. But, so
No more curbside pickup?
realistically, what do you see as
A lot of towns
control?
don't do curbside.
No, I'm asking a serious question.
I'm making a serious comment. No more curbside pickup.
I don't
Take
think that
that
has
money-
anything to do with the crime.
Take that money and put it
Money-wise.
into the PD, and the residents can make their own arrangements to get rid of their trash.
How much money are you talking about for curbside pickup?
Jesus, what?
Couple $100,000 a year.
Illegal dumping calls.
Couple $100,000?
But that's including the MSW tipping fees. The pickup's about $110,000 a year. Not recycling, just
But I mean, that's
garbage.
what
To
you'd
do
have
what
to
we
do.
need to
You'd
do-
have to reduce
something.
You'd have to take some service away.
If we're looking at it realistically, in what their eyes are, their wish list, as I want to put it, their wish list to effectively do what you need to do, what would be the scenario as far as patrol people, detectives, and...
Equipment, technology.
I know it's a loaded question.
It's frightening.
It is frightening, but I want to hear from them what they want.
In a perfect world.
In a perfect world.
Where we're at, I can speak on the detective portion,
Yeah.
not compared to these guys. Where we're at right now, we're the busiest that we've ever been. You know, there was a time not too long ago that we had 3 full detectives and a part-time detective of 32 hours a week. So it's pretty much 4 full detectives. We're at 2. You know, in years past, we've been able to pull Nate Morrison out to give us a hand when we get as freighted as we are right now.
Right.
And right now, we can't do that.
Right.
We don't have enough patrolmen, number one. Number two, the patrolmen that we're hiring are 1 year, 1
Not
year, 1
seasoned.
year. So how do they, it's going to take me just as much time to walk them through what I need them to do. I might as well just do it myself. So for the detective aspect of it, you know, we're overloaded, no doubt, and we're definitely not being proactive. We're more reactive. The drugs, we only do drug work if there's something that immediately needs our attention right here, right now, because we're busy working on these other things. So, you know, we have to balance, do we go do this or stick on what we're doing? You know,
I
you have
can't even
100
say that you're being reactive. I think you're just putting fires out.
That's how I feel personally.
Right.
So-
And there's only 2 of us.
What
you
would
know,
be the ideal number of detectives with your current workloads?
You know, 3, anything more than 2 is better than what we have now, but we went from 4 to 2.
What?
And the load increase.
What
And we're getting
creates
more done.
something, some crime what causes it to go to the detectives? What type of crimes do detectives get? I mean, do you get
depends.
everything?
Mostly.
We try to only take the felony cases, but if it's a theft, that's anything over $1,500 or $1,000. Obviously, all the drug cases, all the burglaries, all the armed robberies, all the sexual assaults, all the rapes, you know, anywhere where there's a child involved, you know, the gamut is
Anything that has a crime scene?
crazy.
So basically not motor vehicle unless it's
We won't do
felony
motor vehicle unless we're specifically looking for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, we do all the search warrants, we type all the search warrants, we execute all the search warrants.
What a percentage of that 10,000 calls per year is that?
Well, it may start off in patrol. These guys start off with the
Oh,
burglary
right, but I
because
mean,
they
that
had there, and then
eventually
it
get
comes
to you.
us.
Of those 10,000 calls, is it 80%?
No.
50%?
I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, probably, obviously, it's a smaller percentage, but larger hours involved.
Right.
Oh, I understand that.
Yeah, so once they get the case, they may work on it for weeks.
You're not gonna get a percentage tonight, kid.
I get that.
You know, we may have, between the 2 of us, we
This
may
is the cat up the tree theory.
have 100 calls right now that we have open cases that we're working on. So of 10,000, that's obviously a very small portion. However, it's an armed robbery, it's 3 burglaries. In a week's time, last week, we did an armed robbery, I think 4 burglaries. I got a sexual assault last night.
Other than warm bodies, technology-wise, is there equipment that we don't have that would maybe expedite or lessen hours?
Are our efforts at IT upgrades helping you at all?
I think Tim's doing pretty well. Every time we need him, he drops what he's doing and comes up. So,
Been
I mean, I
excellent,
think,
yeah.
you know, we've been Band-Aiding, and unfortunately for him, all those Band-Aids have fallen off. You know, I mean, I couldn't,
He'll be
Friday,
presenting us with a plan to,
yeah, I mean, we need computers, our
rid of
computers
the
are so
Band-Aids.
slow, you know, I mean, which is just gonna increase everything anyways, so you guys are looking at flatlining everything, and
that's not going to be flatlined.
we have 4 to 6 computers that, you know, might take 5 minutes to turn on. How do we curb that? We buy 5 computers. Where do we pull that from? Good question. Patrol-wise, Luke can speak on patrol, because that's what he's in charge of.
Go ahead.
We haven't seen a full patrol staff in a substantial amount of time.
What is that?
7 patrolmen is what we had a few years back. We haven't had that since. To effectively be able to run 2 patrolmen on each shift and 1 on midnights, you need 7 patrolmen. And we've ran anywhere from 4 to 6, depending on the time frame in which, the last few years that we've tried to squeeze people in. Realistically, 7 is the bottom number that you could have if you, to subsidize, officer safety, making sure you gotta find that balancing act. Midnights, you only have 1 guy out from during certain hours. I don't wanna put that out over the microphone. But there are certain hours where an officer's by himself, and that can create some, a delicate situation if you're that only guy and you're going into a situation that's rather hairy. We've had some other personnel issue, well, no, I wouldn't say that they're issues. We've had other personnel things that have come up, like we have an officer that's been deployed a substantial amount that's in the military. We have another one on medical leave. We have, guys that we have to kind of shift around to try to, like Matt said, if they're having a substantial amount of caseload, we might take somebody, Corporal Morrison, and put them in detective for some time. So all those type of things with shifting bodies around can make things rather difficult. And then you don't take into account the fact that all of us have vacation time every year, and you start adding that into the mix. We're talking about just people coming day to day, and then you add up the vacation that
It's about
that officers
3,700
have.
hours.
That's a lot of time where you might on a perfect world you had 3 cars up and now you're running 2.
So in a perfect world, if it were 7 and
7 to
3,
8. I would say the 7 to 8 in patrol. 8 would be the ideal
Then you
number.
have that second midnight
But
car.
with the new hire
then
last week, you would
it
have
would go
7.
2, 2, and 2? No, we
Right,
wouldn't.
7, yeah.
Well, we
Count
would
it out.
technically,
With the
because we have 1 deployed, though.
I didn't count him.
Patrol is in patrolmen. We will have once.
I'm not counting those with titles.
Once
Right,
Officer
right.
Glenn gets off FTO, we'll have 7 patrolmen.
4, 5, 6, 7, yeah.
Right, when Noel finishes,
You will
right.
have
Right now,
7.
right now, we have 6.
Right, but you
How
will
long
have
before
7 in
Officer
a very
Glenn
short
becomes-
couple of weeks.
About 3
Mid-November.
months, yeah.
So what do you mean? We hired somebody that's not going to be any good to us for
He's the only one
3
that gets
months.
away with that
3
statement.
months?
I
3
know.
months.
Yes, he does.
That's not a proper statement.
It's not a proper statement at all, because and the other thing is that we...
Wait a minute. What's not a proper statement?
No good to us. It's not a proper statement.
But the patrol people, are they not? We'll have 7 patrol people when the new hire starts.
Right.
If we don't have one other loss that's
don't, yeah.
anticipated.
Right.
Right.
Take a breath, Kathy.
Well,
Take a breath.
if.
Oh, that's a
Yeah.
huge...
Get into those employees
Yeah.
leaving.
And I didn't even
Employees.
count those title people.
Right.
You get into replacing
The problem
employees,
is-
you just can't hire somebody right off the street.
That's right, it's months.
Process.
Right.
They
What's the
did.
process?
No, we did, well, we were lucky.
4
We
to 5
got
process.
lucky
Thank
on
you.
this one.
We've done,
The other one just graduated.
we've gone through 49 people. We've tested 49 people for 1 position.
Right.
Processes.
And that takes time.
That takes time.
That's 5 processes.
This year.
Yes.
Oh, this
of
year.
orals.
I thought you meant this just this one time. I was going to say,
5 processes this year, but each process is 3 to 4 to 5 weeks at a
Yeah,
time. And
at
Really?
least, yes.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yes.
one hiring is 3.
They have to
what'd
go
you
through
say?
a physical.
3 to 4 weeks?
Right.
Polygraph.
Back end.
We start off, we do a
Get the
PT
gun
test.
everywhere
So they
you
do a
go.
PT and a written.
Physical therapy, physical, whatever.
I was gonna say, but
Run
you don't have a
around.
badge, but you do now.
Push-ups,
We also
sit-ups, bench press,
Gentlemen,
run.
that's gotta work.
So, it's a lengthy process. You have to hold the oral boards, or somebody, I mean, it's a lengthy process.
I've never experienced it, so I'm sorry.
The oral boards?
Fun experiment.
Well, we're doing one on Saturday.
It's interesting.
I went for a ride-around once.
He needs to go.
On a slow night.
The officer needs to work, too. He's gonna work. I can go downstairs and see if he's downstairs, sir.
So,
I didn't want excitement.
I'm really glad that you came in, and I think it's enlightened the rest of the board as well. I mean, I've spent some time with you, and
They have to come back, I have a lot of questions.
Well, I think the couple things that I will
they'll
point
be
out
more than happy to come back.
I want to know about the drug investigation money.
is going to be,
How much later?
used to have, we're looking at seven or eight guys, right? Is what we used to have, 7 guys on the road. You also had 4 sergeants. Now you have none.
Yeah, we do. We have a sergeant, don't we?
Well,
Wow,
see, I
Nate.
don't understand
He's not a sergeant.
why those
Oh, he's a corporal?
people are
Who's the
necessary.
sergeant?
I don't get the
I
whole,
thought we just promoted to a sergeant.
this person
Chain
becomes a
of-
sergeant, and that means they're
That's right.
not doing such
Now
and
the
such a
corporal
job.
detective.
Right.
Or are
Well,
they
you would
still
think
doing
that.
this job, but now they've got a title, like,
Well,
okay,
now that-
I'm seeing it, don't it, me?
Yeah.
I mean, do you know what I mean?
I would be more than happy to, and obviously I took you out when I was patrolman back in October, whenever it was. I'm more than happy to take you sometime as my new role.
As your what?
New role,
In my new-
as a
my new role,
supervisor.
being a supervisor.
So now
More than
he's-
happy
Oh,
to
that would be interesting.
come pick
So
you
what
up.
he's saying is, you asked that, do these guys still handle calls? He's still going to go out and handle some of those
No.
calls,
Hold
and
on.
now he's got the responsibility of making sure that those guys are handling their calls, and when somebody wants to come in and complain that, oh, Johnny just got stopped for 25 over the speed limit, why did he get a ticket? Now you're answering those questions as well.
You get those too.
So,
I've seen the lieutenants out patrolling. I've encountered
Our
Lieutenant
chief goes
Martin
out, we know
on a
that.
couple of occasions.
But I'd be more than happy to take you. And like you said, we still handle calls. Last night at midnight, I went to Cumberland Farms for shoplifting.
I think it's really important that we all take time out and stop in and travel with you, or sit with you, or whatever, to see what's going on.
All of our officers are all great. We do substantial amount of ride-alongs, sometimes with the public, explorers, and, whether or not you want to be a patrolman or a supervisor, combination thereof, we're always available. I'm the nighttime supervisor, so I'm in every night except
So if you don't mind, we'd love to invite you back, because Catherine has some questions, Joe has some questions. We are running severely out of time, because we've got an officer to swear in, and we have a small non-public to do immediately that has to be done so that we can get out of here.
Yep.
All right? Thank you,
Thank you,
thank you for coming in.
Appreciate it.
Well, maybe that means you come around more often.
Thank you again, buddy.
Genuinely a pleasure.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dawson, thank you very much.
yeah, no problem.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to just say to
Busy, I don't
the
want to.
audience that
Then I'm a problem.
we are going into non-public, but we will leave rather than have everybody else leave. We're going to just make a motion to go into non-public. We'll go downstairs quickly and take care of the business that we need to take care of. Jane, you don't need to leave.
Oh, we're going out. Oh, okay.
And that way, we can take care of business and come back up, and then we can swear in Abe, all right?
We'll make it quick.
Would like to
We're going to swear in a new officer. If you'd like to meet our new officer, you're more than happy to stick around. It's probably 10 minutes, all right?
You
Like
should
to
have
make-
picked out a whole list of things to be working on out of this meeting.
If you need new legislation, we need to talk this week.
Okay,
Oh, all right. I have one.
make a motion to go into non-public as per RSA 91A:3, legal.
I have a second. Oh,
Roll call vote.
yes.
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 All these people do.
Glad I thought it was, I was flying up the stairs. What if they don't have it?
You're on.
Come on. Okay, we're back in public session. I would like to make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public as they pertain to legal until the matters are resolved. Any discussion? Roll call vote?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, at this time, looks like maybe everybody's here that needs to be here. This is one of the most exciting parts about being selectman. The first most exciting part is throwing candy out in the parade. The second most exciting part is welcoming new officers to our town, and that's really exciting. So with this, I'd like to welcome Abe Gilman up, and we'll promise we won't swear at you, we'll swear you in. Chief?
Sign this one too.
Picking through for the good ones?
No, I'm looking for a mint.
No mints.
No
mints.
mints.
Coming up or no? Everybody else coming up?
I'm inappropriate. Let me stand behind.
I know.
Okay, if you... To the inhabitants of the town of Tilton, in the county of Belknap, in the state of New Hampshire, whereas there is a vacancy in the position of full-time patrol officer in the town of Tilton, and whereas we, the subscribers, have confidence in your ability and integrity to perform the duties of said office, do hereby appoint you, Abraham Gilman, to the position of full-time patrol officer for the town of Tilton, New Hampshire, which shall be effective as of September 30th, and whereas upon taking the oath of office and having this appointment in the certificate of said oath of office recorded by the Tilton Town Clerk, you shall have the powers, perform the duties, and be subject to the liability of such office until another person shall be chosen and qualified in your stead. Repeat after me. I, Abraham Gilman, do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent on me as full-time patrol officer. That was a trick. And perform all the duties incumbent on me as a full-time patrol officer for the town of Tilton. According to the best of my abilities. Agreeably to the rules and regulations. Of the United States Constitution. And the laws of the state of New Hampshire, so help me God. Congratulations.
My wife? Do this again.
Try not to draw blood. I'm just saying.
Don't tempt her.
I'm just saying.
Do my best. Pop it in a little bit. There you go. There we go. Good.
Yeah, congratulations.
Welcome.
Congratulations. Thank you. Welcome.
Do we all have to sign that?
Yep.
Actually, you do. You have mints?
Oh, I do on my desk.
Middle drawer.
I'm going.
Middle drawer. Oh, yeah, there's all sorts of mints over there. She had her own mint all this time.
Go ahead.
Save everybody.
I might still wanted to do that too.
You guys want to come up?
I should have a regular shirt here, just for pictures.
Yeah, you're gonna have to.
No, this is fine. Squeeze in there, guys.
Want to do another one?
Yeah, you know.
First one always good.
Everybody say felony.
No, don't.
That's got too much work. Thanks.
All right, good.
Say what?
This goes with that.
That goes with that.
Meg, do you want to work? Meg, do you want to picture you and I?
Just a second.
Thanks, guys.
He's running out on you, quick.
I'll be over there tonight.
Trade.
There.
We have to get,
I need to sign it.
Thank you.
we have to.
I
he
did
has-
the oath.
Okay, you have to sign it, and then Cindy has to sign it at the bottom.
Oh, Abe has to sign
Where's he?
it. He's up taking a picture.
Oh, okay.
You're your chief one of those cases. Same thing. All right. You're a free man.
Because I gave him the oath.
Okay, I didn't.
You introduce
I'll
yourself.
change the angle of the camera.
Yes, it is. I agree.
Right behind that candy.
Everyone loves that.
Okay. Hope you don't get seasick with all the waves.
All right. I think that's good.
As soon
I don't
as,
want to take your pen either.
as soon as Cindy records, this will come back.
Oh, was it not brought up?
Perfect, thank you.
You know, it's pick it up anytime.
Yeah, I
Tomorrow, whatever.
I have to go and talk to, I have the track all this weekend, working the racetrack.
Yeah.
So, I think Monday I'm gonna go there and get everything. All my uniforms and then, insurance.
Downstairs.
Yeah, I can live with that. If I'm the only one drinking it, I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, take probably an radar for you anytime you need. You got it, yep, thank you, I appreciate you coming. No problem. Take care. Good job.
Yeah. Nice catch, huh?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It was?
All right, this is Joseph.
So, all set? Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I'm in the middle of the selectmen's meeting. I just swore in a police officer, but I'll call you back as soon as I get down, all right?
Yeah, I did too.
Thanks, Hank. Bye.
Yep, thanks. No, but I mean, you know what I mean? It's good. No, yeah, I appreciate that.
Can we make a motion?
Oh, we can do anything we want.
I don't know. Can we adjourn?
I think we're all set, right?
Catherine, did you sign the manifest?
We can do that either. We don't have to be in public to do that.
Now, this just has to go to Cindy, right?
So, that's all we have, right?
Yeah.
I think that's all we have.
I'm gonna give this to Catherine.
Oh, no, it's not all we have to do. No, we have something in here. Hold on.
I'll give this to Catherine, so she can give it to Cindy in the morning to sign.
Yep.
Yes, and then we'll make sure he gets it. Thank you.
I just,
In my own studio. Not in my studio. No, that's fine.
No.
I was just thinking, what if it's one of the kids? No?
nope.
Too many people try to call her, because you know when she see her.
Okay, we have one more letter to read, and then I think we can, I'm pretty sure we can go home after this.
Don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
This letter is to the Board of Selectmen from Peter Fogg, copied Johanna Ames and Dennis Allen. Greetings, Selectmen and Highway Department. It has come to my attention that the DPW is planning reconstruction work on Tyrone Lane and Rescue Lane and on Center Street. Part of this project entails raising and lowering a sewer manhole. I have been asked to pay $350 for this work. The way I see this plays out is as follows. 1, through no fault of the Sewer Commission, work is being completed around one of our manholes. 2, we have nothing to do with this project. 3, we are asked to pay $350 for this work. If this is how the town plans to work, I offer an alternate scenario. 1, sewer lines fail on a town road. 2, Sewer Commission pays for excavation and repair of sewer line with associated bedding and covering material. 3, since DPW maintains all town roads and sidewalks, they pay for any and all paving costs. I'm interested in knowing if the selectmen agree with my scenario. Although $350 is a small sum of money, there is no guarantee the next project will not have substantial impact to the Sewer Commission. Please excuse my short notice, however, official notification came to me late yesterday. In addition, I am unable to attend your meeting tonight as I have an open house at the high school. You weren't here, so you can read this officially if you want. Okay. Do we want to...
Yeah, we probably ought to apologize for not notifying him in advance.
I don't even see why you charge him, it's really not...
Why are we charging him $350 to do the manhole?
Well, the proper etiquette would have been to have contacted the Sewer Commission and let them know that the project was going to go through, that one of their manholes was going to be affected, and ask them how did they want to deal with it.
Take
Did
care
they
of
want the road department to get an estimate, or did they want to? Communication. And unfortunately, we failed to do that.
And even with communication, I'm not understanding why we're going to charge them for a project they're not doing.
Because it's their sewer manhole?
But we're disturbing it, they're not.
Exactly.
So why are we charging them?
Again, this communication should have taken place
Should be out of the highway.
We shouldn't be charging them
time
anything.
ago.
No, because we're doing the project. Just like if they were to come along and put in new sewer lines or have to work on the line and tear up part of the road, when they're all done, they're going to fix the road.
Right.
I think it was presumptuous of the Public Works Director to inform the Sewer Commission that they were going to be liable for money on that project. And although I don't necessarily agree with the analogy Mr. Fogg used, I do indeed agree that it was improper to just assume that they were going to pay it. I didn't even hear about this. I read this earlier, but I had no idea that anybody was proposing to charge Sewer Commission for anything.
So I think that we need to, someone take it and either write a letter back, because Joyce isn't here, or give the information to Joyce that the consensus is that we not charge the $350 and apologize for the short notice of the lack in communication.
But since it's their sewer manhole, we should also ask them how they wish to address it. I mean, we almost have to ask permission to alter their sewer manhole.
If we're altering the manhole, I got the feeling that they need to be a part of that process. I'm thinking. But
Right.
I agree.
Do you want to dictate a note to Joyce so that they can, she can get a letter out immediately tomorrow in response to this?
Are you looking at Catherine or me?
Looking at Catherine.
Oh, me? Oh, I thought you...
Yeah, it could have worked out either way.
I was looking for the original letter in my email.
I don't think we got it in our email, did we?
I got one.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it.
Okay, good. I wasn't looking for not. You want me to draft I can do that.
You want to draft a letter?
Sure.
And respond to it
well, I'll send it out to all of you before I send it off to him.
Right.
Do you want me to do
The
it?
points we want to make
Want me
is
to do it
that,
via email, or do you actually want me to write a letter and put it in the mail?
email.
Email's fine.
Email's fine. Right. This is for public, just for the public FYI, the letter from Avatar, we have a list of folks that are going to be the data verification, perform a data verification from 9:24 through 9:26, 8 a.m. to 4:30, and there's a whole list of names that, it's a random list of names, so. The shoreland permit, we are getting a butter notification for shoreland permit application from Robert Lee.
Robert whom?
Lee, Contingiani Drive, Unit Number 5. Map and lot number U2A05.
It goes together.
Okay? All right.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Yes! One little thing.
Wait,
We should also notify the road agent of the proper protocol for future road projects.
Yes. In that same letter?
No, I think that's a separate letter from us to him.
Yeah.
Okay. This is legal.